Welcome back to Legalese 123, where we are covering cases across America. Hello and welcome. It is Wednesday, November the 12th. How's everybody doing out there? I hope you're doing well. I'm your host, Missy K. If you see today's lovely frock, yes, I'm creating this lovely knit. Let's see if I have, oh yes. Okay. I got this yarn in Zurich in Switzerland, and I was going to make something different with it, but I had an inspiration that I saw, and you will see. Again, I am a knitter. Lovely, welcome. It's probably you didn't come here for the knitting content, but here it is. And I got this lovely yarn. Oh, you probably can't see. It's reversed. Anyways, it is a 72% alpaca, 16% nylon, and 12% wool. Anyways, it's very lightweight. It's very nice. But here is the inspiration, and I'm going to share this with you. Actually, let me remove me. Let me make this bigger. Let's see. Can I make this bigger? Can you see this loveliness? Oh, let's see. It is Lenny Kravitz, and this is some Vogue picture, and it's called the blanket scarf. So that is what I'm going for. I'm still in the knitting stage. I'm not sure how much further I'm going to go. We're going to see. And he's got this fringy fringe on the bottom. But remember, I showed you the other day the outfit that Tom Daly was wearing on his knitting show. And so I might combine this with that. So it's a work in progress. So stay tuned. We'll see how that pans out. Anyways, again, happy Wednesday. And so when I say happy Wednesday, I made this for you guys. Who remembers Winnie the Pooh? It was something, I remember as a child. And anytime I hear somebody say happy Wednesday, this is the phrase that comes up to me. And it says, oh, yes, that reminds me. Happy Wednesday, Owl. And Owl says, my good friend, I wouldn't go so far as to call it a Wednesday, just a gentle spring zephyr. Yes, spring zephyr. So I have to say to everybody, are you in an area that you can go see the Northern Lights? Oh my goodness. Last night, it was a show to remember. I've seen them before. Other family members have not. It was their first time. And so it was like, wow, this is such a beautiful, spectacular colors in the sky, red and greens and blues and the different hues of greens. You got a bright green and then a light green and then blues and the bright red. It was amazing. If you missed out, you're in luck. You can go and see it again tonight. Again, yes, the powers that be say that tonight is also another night that you get to go see all of the stars and you get to see the Northern Lights. So hopefully it is clear in your area and you get to experience it just like everybody else. So what are we going to talk about today? See, I talk with my hands. What are we going to talk about today? First and foremost, thank you so far to everybody who has subscribed and liked my channel. We're up to 10 subscribers. Yes, 10. Now, I have a favor. If you have not liked and subscribed, please do so. I have a holiday party that I have to go to, and people are going to ask me, what is it that you do? And I have to explain to them that I am making a fool of myself on YouTube, making content about legal cases and things legally that matter. Now, that's not what I'm going to say, but this is to you because we're being honest and we're being real, that I need to present that this is what I do. Now, again, not sponsored, not making any money thus far, but you never know where it goes. You got to start somewhere, right? So today is the day. If you have something on your mind, if you have something that you have been contemplating that you haven't done, I'm here to tell you, start today. It's never too late, right? It's never too late to start something. And so I implore you to like and subscribe. I am crossing my fingers that we get to a minimum of 50 subscribers by the end of the month. That's the goal. So that I can, because the first thing they're going to ask you is, how many subscribers do you have? And I'm going to say 50. And so that just puts me on the map. So before you continue on, like and subscribe at the bottom here. Doesn't cost you anything. And if you subscribe, then you know when I'm going to come on, or when you see that I got some new podcast information coming on, and you can hop on in. As promised, today we are going to go back through Brian Walshe. Yes, it is kind of long, but it's important that we go and we talk about him. Quick recap. Here's Brian Walshe. Brian Walshe versus Massachusetts. Brian Walshe was married to Anna Walshe. They had 3 children. Something happened to her on actually January 1st, 2023. She was working her way through real estate. She was doing some managing stuff for Tishman Speyer in Washington, D.C. She had her own home down there. Possibility that Brian, because he had a fraud case against him, he was selling fake Andy Warhols, that perhaps she was preparing for a life without him. And she was going to take the children to Washington, D.C. and start a new life. But that is unknown at the time. Something happened to Anna. Brian didn't report that she was missing until 3 days later. So now here we are. The police are investigating. Where is she at? Is she still alive? Is she deceased? What's going on with her? Brian is being accused of dismembering her and placing her body parts in various dumpsters around town. He's from Cohasset, Massachusetts. And what we are discovering is, was there an agreement? He agreed to give up his cell phone and I think one of the children's iPads, because the children were in contact with her. He had an agreement between his lawyer, Tracy Minor, and Lynn Beatty, who was the assistant district attorney at the time, that he would relinquish his phones, but only for them to look at communications between the two. Well, the police did more than that. And again, we're going to find out who, what, where, when, how, and why. They downloaded and extracted his entire cell phone, and in that they received the location data. They then reviewed the location data and his whereabouts after the events of January 1st. And then they went to go to those places and found surveillance from those places and saw that he had purchased office supply stuff, and that he was also going around dumpsters throwing things away, and they retrieved some information from there. So did they do that legally? Again, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not going to tell you how to crime better, but a couple of things of note. Number 1, make sure that if they are going to download your phone, as you saw, if you saw yesterday's podcast, one of the Cohasset police officers said they have a form that you fill out and you say what it is that you agree to download, etc. Apparently, Massachusetts police don't have that form, didn't offer that form, etc. So make sure that you have the agreed upon terms as to what you want them to download off your phone if you're being cooperative. Another thing is, you don't have to be cooperative in this case until there is an arrest warrant for you, and then they have a search warrant for your phone. And still then, you don't have to give them the password to your phone. So I'm not telling you how to crime better. I'm just telling you how to be a little bit more careful. And the more passwords you have on your phone, some people have a 4-digit passcode. Others have, 6 now? If you have more 6 versus 4, it's going to take them a lot longer to crack your phone, right? Because they've got to put it into the machine, and the machine digitally goes through all of the combinations that it is, and whammo shablamo, they finally get it. How do we know this? Well, in the Murdaugh case, it took them a while to get Paul's phone cracked, and then they found the video on there that heard Alex's voice, damaging information for him. And then in the Corey Richens case, she's accused of giving her husband a Moscow Mule full of fentanyl, 5 times the legal limit, and he passed away. And she was out for a while, and then 2 years later, they cracked her phone and got all of her text messages, etc., where it is alleged that she was asking for fentanyl. So just be smart. All right, so where are we? So this is what's going on with him. These are the investigators who are in the Karen Read trial. John O'Keefe passing happened a year prior to this. So what policies and procedures do they do here versus what they did not do in John O'Keefe's case? And so you're going to see some of the same players. We already heard yesterday that we heard, Michael Proctor. So who is who? This is Michael Proctor. This is Brian Tully. This is Yuri Bukhenik. This is Nick Guarino. And this is Connor Keefe. All right, so here we go. We're going to go ahead and we're going to stop that. And we're going to then go to our YouTube. Streaming is dynamic. And we're going to pick off where we left off yesterday. So we left off by saying that, where'd it go? Here it is. Add to the stage. Okay, we got to remove something. Here we go. La, 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 la. We're going to embiggen this. All right. So we left off with this police officer. I don't remember his name. He is getting off the stand, but he had a lot of information to give. And again, this is not in the presence of the jury. This is just the prosecution and the defense asking questions of these police officers and what their methods were in their investigation. Again, it is the defense's job to poke holes in the prosecution's case. And it is their job to eliminate evidence coming into the trial that could be damaging for their client. They're advocating for their client. Some people I know do not like defense attorneys. Oh, they're going to get their client off, blah, 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 blah. Well, listen, again, we talked about it is the prosecutor's job to make sure that they have enough evidence to convict, right? Plain and simple. Did the police do their job? Do they do it to the policies, standards, procedures, methods that they're supposed to do? Did they mess up? Michael Proctor, we're talking to you. Did they mess up? And if that comes into play about how bad they messed up to doing their job, does that lend to the defense's case saying, hey, they bungled this up. There's no way that you can convict. Again, it's all about reasonable doubt, right? Do you have doubt that this person did this crime? So you're the judge, you're the jury, you're the jury of fact, right? You're going to get all the facts and the evidence, and you get to determine whether or not you think that this person is guilty in a court of law, not in the media. So we're going to go through this and we're going to see who's next. Exciting. I know. I'm sorry. I sing when.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, sir. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sir, could you state your name and spell your first and last name, please? Yes, sir. My name is Yuri Bukhenik, spelled Y-U-R-I-Y, last of B-U-K-H-E-N-I-K. Where do you work, sir? I work for the Massachusetts State Police, currently assigned to the Norfolk District Attorney's Office. How long have you been with Massachusetts State Police? I graduated the academy March of 2012. And how long have you been attached to the detectives unit with the District Attorney's Office? 10 years. And what is your current rank? I'm a sergeant. And how long have you been a sergeant within that unit? Since December of 2021. So I'm going to ask some questions now about January 5th of 2023, Thursday. That day, did you have the opportunity to be dispatched to Cohasset? Yes. Why were you dispatched to Cohasset? Cohasset police detectives reached out to our office requesting assistance in investigating a missing person case. What was the name of the person you were asked to help find? The person's name was Anna Walshe. About what time did you get to Cohasset PD that day? It was in the late afternoon. I would say approximately 4:45 or so.
And did anyone else besides you, that's a member of the State Police Detectives Unit with the Norfolk District Attorney's Office, respond to Cohasset that evening?
Yes,
Who else?
Trooper DeChico.
And once Trooper DeChico and you were at the Cohasset PD, who did you have the opportunity to speak with?
I spoke with Detective Harrison Schmidt of Cohasset PD.
And what was the purpose of this meeting with Detective Schmidt?
He gave us an update on his investigation into the missing person, shared the details of that he's learned since he was involved.
Did you have the opportunity to review anything in addition to having the conversation with Detective Schmidt?
Yes, I was able to review an audio recording of Brian Walsh's interview.
And after having this meeting and reviewing the recording, what did you have the opportunity to do next?
Okay, I paused it there. Did you hear that? Did you hear that? There was a recorded statement from Brian Walsh. We are a year after the John O'Keefe case. And if you go back and you look at, so Cohasset did this, right? Cohasset police recorded the interview. There's no recorded interviews in John O'Keefe's case. None of the witnesses were taken to the station. No recorded interviews. Why? All right, we're going to continue. Sorry.
In your investigation?
After doing the review of the recording and being updated on all the information that Cohasset PD had at the time, myself, Trooper DeChico, Detective Schmidt, Detective Lieutenant Lopes, and Sergeant Hunt proceeded to 516 Chief Justice Cushing Highway in Cohasset.
About what time did all of you arrive at that address?
I believe it was like 6:30 p.m.
And when you arrived, was anyone leaving?
Yes, there was a female party leaving as we came up to the door.
And do you understand what her relationship was to the family?
I do know, yes.
What is it?
She was the babysitter for the 3 juvenile children.
And after seeing this woman leave the residence, did you discover who else was in the residence at this time?
Yes.
Who?
Within the residence, we were able to meet with Brian Walsh, his mother, Diana Walsh, and there was 3 juvenile children inside as well.
Now, in that evening, did you have the opportunity to conduct an interview with anyone at the Walsh residence?
Yes, I did.
Who did you initially get the chance to speak with?
Initially, I spoke with Diana Walsh.
And Diana Walsh is Mr. Brian Walsh's mother, correct?
That's correct.
All right. Where was your conversation with Diana Walsh?
My conversation was in the living room area where the couches were situated. There's also a fireplace there. It is right off the kitchen area, separating the dining room area by a staircase set and a wall, I believe.
And was there anyone with you to help conduct this interview?
Yes, Detective Lieutenant Lopes of Cohasset PD was present with me.
Where were the other officers at this point in time that arrived with you?
The other officers were speaking with Brian Walsh in the dining room area portion of the home.
And was anyone else with Mr. Walsh besides those officers, if you know?
Just the 3 officers that arrived.
Where were the children when you initially had the opportunity to speak with Diana Walsh?
Upon her request, the children went upstairs in the main portion of the home to the 2nd floor.
Now, can you explain how the initial conversation, what occurred during your initial conversation with the defendant's mother?
Yes. As we sat down, Diana was asked to provide her date of birth and a phone number. She initially ignored my request and was texting on her phone. A follow-up request was also momentarily not addressed or not answered. She then advised us that she had utmost respect for what we do, but she only has one son, and she was very adamant in helping find Anna.
Did she say what she was doing as far as trying to find Anna?
Yes, she stated that she had Googled, researched a top PI firm, private investigation firm in the DC area, and she had been communicating with the owner / CEO of the company.
And did she give you any contact information for that person?
Yes, she provided both a business line and a private cell phone number for the individual.
Now, did she have the opportunity in this, during this conversation, did she tell you what had occurred with her son's cell phone as far as January 1 and January 2nd?
Yes, during this conversation, she advised us that on January 2nd, Brian Walshe showed up at her home in Swampscott and advised her that his phone was missing and that he needed to use her device to communicate or try to reach Anna.
And did she show you anything from her phone during this part of the conversation?
Yes, she showed me her call logs as well as text message communications that were documented on her device. And
when you saw this, did you see the names of any of, not asking the specific name, but did you see the names of anyone in the family?
Yes, there was a name associated with a juvenile child, the eldest, that was documented as a missed call.
And did you ask her about whose phone number that would be?
Yes, I did.
And what did she explain to you?
She indicated it was the 6-year-old's phone number as saved with the name in her device, and that she had purchased all the three of the juvenile children, cell phones, Apple AirTags, and iPads.
How long were you speaking with Diana Walshe before any of the children returned?
I would estimate it 15 minutes or so.
And which child did you wish to speak to?
The oldest 6-year-old child.
And was that one of the children that returned at this point in time?
Yes, it was.
And did you have the opportunity to speak to the oldest child?
Yes, I did.
Can you explain to us what occurred as far as that conversation?
Initially, when the child presented to our presence, myself and Detective Lieutenant Lopes, asked him if he was willing to have us ask him some questions. He shook his head in the affirmative without giving me a verbal response. Diana, at that point, asked him to sit on her lap while we held the conversation, and we proceeded to ask him some questions.
And what did the oldest child tell you about about what he remembers of the last time he saw his mother, Anna Walshe?
What the child stated was that the last time he saw his mother was surrounded around the events of him hearing a noise, waking up, coming downstairs, and seeing her on the couch underneath his blanket, which he left in the room overnight. She was dressed in a set of pink pajamas with red hearts. And as he was walking by the kitchen island, he saw his iPad. He picked up the iPad, recognized that it was malfunctioning or broken, not working properly, and he requested that his mom, Anna, fix the iPad for him. Once she fixed the iPad, he indicated that Anna went upstairs and changed into her real clothes, returning back downstairs, holding a brown duffel bag, approximately 2 feet in length, and a purse, which he gestured to her wearing on her shoulder. He then stated that her taxi was here. He told her, "I love you." She responded, "I love you more." And she walked out the door to her ride. When asked if he saw the vehicle, saw the headlights for the vehicle, or saw her get into the vehicle, he stated he did not. Those are strictly his.
All right, I'm going to pause it right there. So This 6-year-old tells Yuri that he had seen Anna leave. And remember, this is really important because sort of again, like Kelly Dever, don't call her Dever, it's Dever. Is this a false memory? Is this like something he sort of remembers from past times? Was this something that happened earlier? Did this happen on this particular day? And it's very important that he asked the questions, did you see the taxi? Did you see the lights, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's very important because the 6-year-old says one thing, Brian Walsh is going off of that. Where's Anna? That's what they're trying to determine. Where's Anna? So back to testimony.
Speculations. Obviously, he didn't use the word speculation, but.
And how did the conversation end with the oldest child?
I had a question for him asking, does he know where his mom, before I was able to finish that question, Diana became animated with her arms since he was sitting on her lap, flailing her arms in the air. I stopped abruptly, being interrupted by her gesture. She finished the question for me, stating cell phone. The child never answered my intended question, which was if he knew where his mom was, nor the question that Diana finished. He strictly said that mom wanted him to move to DC to be with her. He abruptly got up off of Diana's lap and ran into a different portion of the home.
And did you have any further conversation with the oldest?
Okay, so I'm going to stop right there. Is he implying that the grandma had something to do with planting this memory inside the child's head? Did she interrupt the interview because he might be asked something that wasn't pre-planned or pre-discussed? Is that what he's implying? I don't know the answer to that, but that's what comes into my head. I'm wondering if you think the same thing. So my other question is, again, I have this issue with Massachusetts State Police. If they feel like this interview is important, if they feel like this interview is pertinent to their case, where's Anna? Or did somebody do something to Anna, right? Why are they not separating witnesses? Why is this 6-year-old being questioned on grandma's lap, right? I mean, I consider that sort of like a coerced or influenced testimony, right? I feel like that's, could grandma be doing something behind the scenes to let this kid know this is what she wants him to say? I'm just assuming, I'm just speculating here. It's not necessarily true. I don't know whether it's true or not or what have you, but this is just my thought process. Why didn't he take the kid into the other room? If it's a 6-year-old and they're worried about the legality of interviewing a minor, they have procedures for that. Take him to the station, have a psychologist or an attorney or somebody else there that is sort of a nonpartisan person who won't influence this child's testimony, and they can ask him all the questions that they want. You're trying to find this person. You're on day 3. She's missing. Well, I think it's the 3rd or 4th of January. I just, like, where is the care, the concern? Where's the procedures? My rant is over. Let's continue.
Child?
Yes, I did.
And what was that, sir?
At one point, a little bit later on, he returned to the area where myself and Detective Lopes was standing. He opened the door slightly, just wide enough to the basement that he could fit through. He took a step onto the first step going down into the basement, looked back at me, extended his arm, and I told him that he shouldn't go into the basement on his own, realizing there were child locks on the door. Then Diana also opened the door all the way and grabbed his hand and told him not to go down there.
Did the Did any of the children ever give you anything that night?
Yes.
What did they give you?
The eldest 6-year-old boy gave me a little art piece that he rendered.
Now, how long were you in the home speaking to the oldest child and Diana Walsh?
I would estimate it to be 45 minutes, maybe more. There was a lengthy conversation in our presence in the home.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sergeant, we left off, I believe the conversation had come to an end with Diana Walsh and the oldest child. What did you do at the house after that?
I waited for the other officers to finish searching the home for the missing individual, to include the attic.
Why was the attic significant to you?
It had not been searched, and in my experience with other cases, we have had located individuals in crawl spaces and attics.
What types of cases are those, sir?
Death investigations.
And more specific, though, when you found people in crawl spaces like that, have they been as a result of murder or how so?
They were suicides.
What did you do as far as examining the outside of the home?
I proceeded outside, checked the yard, the property, to include trash cans, looking for Anna's phone. One of the locations that myself, Detective Lieutenant Lopes, Detective Schmidt checked was Brian Walsh's Volvo SUV.
And did you ask anyone permission to check the Volvo?
Yes.
And who did you ask?
Brian Walsh.
And what did he say?
He complied, granted us permission, unlocked the vehicle, and we took a look through the contents of inside.
And what observations did you make of the Volvo?
I located a cell phone device inside the Volvo, located in the center console of the vehicle.
And did you have a conversation with Mr. Walsh about whose cell phone that was?
Yes, I asked him whose device that was, at which time he stated it was his oldest son's
And
phone.
did any of the police officers attempt to verify that?
Yes, Detective Lieutenant Lopes, having been provided with the phone number for that device, called the phone, and the phone rang, verifying that it is, in fact, the 6-year-old's phone.
And where did Detective Lopes get the phone number from?
Our conversation with Diana Walsh, when she showed us the call logs, the phone number was provided.
Do you remember what the phone number was for that device?
Not at the top of my head. I know that it most likely ended at 8028, possibly.
And did you write that anywhere in any of your reports?
Yes, I wrote it in my interview report.
Would that, looking at that report, refresh your recollection as to the number?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, may I approach?
You may.
Sergeant, I ask if you would look at paragraph 9, look at it to yourself, look up to be an opportunity to review it. Does that refresh your recollection as to that phone number?
Yes, it does.
What was the phone number, sir?
617 895, I believe.
Oh, should I come back?
Yes, please.
All right, Sergeant. Take one more look. You know where it is. All right, now you want to give it a shot.
Yes, 617 895 8028.
So, that phone, was it seized that night?
It was not, no,
Was it left where was it left then?
in the vehicle.
Now, this is Thursday, January 5th. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Now, I'd like to, that night, besides looking in the Volvo, did you find anything else as far as cell phones that night?
No, I did not, no.
Okay. Now, I'd like to ask you now some questions about January 6th, Friday.
Yes, sir.
Did you have the opportunity to contact anyone who was representing Mr. Brian Walsh?
Yes, I did.
Who was that you were contacting?
I contacted attorney Tracy Minor.
And why were you contacting Tracy Minor?
I wanted to communicate with her and get consent for the devices that belong to Brian Walshe and his juvenile children that were being utilized.
Okay. I'm going to pause there for a second because I call BS. Capital B with an S. Oh, I contacted her because of this, and that. How do you know who she was? I assume that Brian Walshe and or his mother said to Mr. Bukhenik, hey, I have an attorney. Remember earlier that the other officer had stated that Trooper Titico wanted to take Brian's phone and wanted to download the contents of his phone. And Brian's like, oh, I don't think so. I need to talk to my attorney, right? And that's the thing to do. When you are faced, again, not a lawyer, not advice, just common sense. If you are faced with something of a legal dilemma, you stop. Stop everything. You can pause. You are not under arrest. If you are not under arrest, you don't gotta tell them nothing. You don't got to say nothing. You don't got to do nothing. You don't have to help them in their investigation. Now, like most people who just want to help out, sometimes help out a little too much, and they help themselves into handcuffs. In this instance, Brian did sort of the right thing. Hey, stop, pause. I need to talk to my attorney. I need to find out exactly what's going to be downloaded, what's not going to be downloaded, etc. So again, here's the conundrum. So him saying, oh, I contacted her because, oh, words matter. Just FYI, he is on the stand. He is supposed to testify. He's supposed to be telling the truth. Words matter. Let's continue.
What was your understanding of Tracy Minor's relationship to Mr. Walshe?
My understanding was that Tracy Minor was representing Brian Walshe on a criminal matter out of federal court in Boston.
And when did you start communicating with Attorney Minor?
I began communicating with her in the afternoon hours of January 6th. It was during the 3 o'clock hour, I believe.
And how were you communicating with her?
Via cell phone call communications.
Do you know roughly how many phone calls you had with Attorney Minor?
I had numerous communications. To the best of my estimate, probably three phone calls.
And so, what did you ask Attorney Minor in the first conversation, if you remember?
In the first conversation, I identified myself and asked her to provide consent for Brian Walshe's phones. At that point, I had knowledge of at least 2 devices, the one that was missing, that was located on the second, and then the 6-year-old cell phone.
Okay, so to be clear, you say the one that was missing that was located in the second, who did you believe that cell phone belonged to?
Brian Walshe.
And the second device, what was that device that you were concerned about?
That was a device that contacted Diana with a missed call on the call log, and it was also now present inside Brian Walshe's vehicle in the SUV.
What did you say to Attorney Minor that you wished to do to these devices?
I stated that we wish to do a full system extraction, phone dump, more commonly used as a phone, known as a phone dump of those devices for digital evidence data.
And what reservations did Attorney Minor express to you in the first conversation?
She stated she needed to talk to her client, and she would call me back.
And did you explain anything else you were looking for at this point in time?
No, I did not.
So how long did it take for Attorney Minor to contact you back?
It was somewhere between 5-10 minutes, maybe a little more, maybe 15 minutes, but I did receive a call from her within a short period of time.
And what happened in this next phone call?
She stated that it would be fine to, they would consent to the extractions. They just wanted it documented, and she requested a documentation to be generated.
And was there any limitations on the digital? Was there any limitations on what you were allowed to look at?
Yes, it was communicated verbally in our agreement that we were not to look at attorney-client communications prior to December 25th, 2022, and no communications between Anna and Brian Walshe prior to that date as well.
Besides those two issues, was there anything else that you were not allowed to look at when you spoke to Attorney Minor?
No.
Did you tell Attorney, and so during this conversation, was there mention of any other devices you wish to look at?
Yes, after we made the agreement for the two cell phones mentioned, I also requested that the iPad, which we knew was manipulated by Anna prior to her leaving the home, would also be included within the devices that were consented to.
Did you explain why you wanted to look at that iPad?
I did not know.
Why did you want to look at that iPad?
Well, if Anna manipulated the device and fixed it during the time frame that we were advised, there would be a digital footprint on the device documented that manipulation.
And to be specific,
Okay. Sorry. I just have a couple of issues here. He didn't communicate that he wanted the iPad, but yet here he's saying, oh, we want the iPad because she communicated on that iPad. She manipulated that device, so we want that too. But he didn't communicate that to the attorney. Are we talking in hindsight? Or are we talking about just a missed opportunity or a miscommunication at the time of the conversation with Attorney Minor? I have questions. I think you do too. Let's continue.
what iPad are you referring to that Anna manipulated?
It was the iPad that the 6-year-old saw on the island as he came downstairs after hearing a noise and waking up, and he picked it up and had his mom fix for him.
Why was that footprint significant to you in your investigation into the disappearance of Anna Walshe?
It would have really narrowed down the timeline of when Anna left the home. It was in a short period of time after the device was manipulated that we were told Anna got dressed and left the home.
Had you had any access to that iPad before this conversation?
No.
And so when you were speaking to the oldest child, he never showed it to you or anything like that?
No, he did not.
Okay. Now, besides the two areas that you had agreed upon with Attorney Minor, which was attorney-client contact and anything before December 25th with the defendant and his wife, she asked for what?
A documentation of the agreement that we verbally discussed and agreed upon.
And what did you do to document the agreement?
Communications were had with Norfolk District Attorney, First Assistant Lynn Beelan, and she drafted an email including those specific restrictions of the full data extraction, digital evidence analysis in an email form and sent it to Attorney Minor and CC'd me on it as well.
What memory do you have of expressing these concerns to First Assistant Beelan at the time?
I do not have a memory of communicating with First Assistant Beelan.
So do you know how First Assistant Beelan knew to send the email?
I do not know.
Okay. Again, I don't know if your BS meter is running high, but mine is. How did Lynn Beeland get involved? He says, oh, I don't know. I don't know how she got involved. Well, it sounds like to me, I mean, 2 + 2 is 4, right? Sounds like Tracy Minor said, hey, you can have my client's phone. I'm sure she had some more information about what he's allowed to download, etc. But she, he's given her a time frame of what you can and cannot look for. And again, I have issue at this, but I guess there's documentation, so maybe we'll see what the documentation has to say. But I'm sure Tracy Miner's like, hey, you can have my client's phones and you can search for XYZ, but I need it in writing. So how did the assistant district attorney, Lynn Beeland, get involved? And there was an email between the parties, between Yuri, Tracy Miner, and Lynn Beeland. Osmosis, just magically through the air. Lynn Beeland said there's like a beacon. Hey, you need to write up this email. Yuri, I don't know if you are lying. I don't know, but it's super sus. Sus. When you see sus, you call it out. Let's continue.
Your Honor, may I approach?
You may.
Sergeant, do you recognize that document I've just handed you?
Yes, I do.
What is the document I've just handed to you?
It's a copy of a printed out email exchange between Attorney Miner, which I'm CC'd on, and First Assistant Lynn Beeland, and their communications.
And does that document, is that after you had the conversations with Attorney Miner?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, I'd ask that this be marked as the next exhibit, and I know that I've fouled up the order, but it is in the binder, and I think it was attached to the defense's pleadings as well.
All right.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And what number do you think it is?
So on my listing, I have it as Exhibit 13.
Number 13. You know what he's talking about, Attorney Tipton?
Yes.
And do you have any objection to that?
I do not.
All right.
I feel a little bit better right now that he knows what I'm talking about, which is great. So, Sergeant, if I may ask, could you read the first email into the record of that chain? First is, who is the sender?
The sender is Lynn Beeland.
Who are the recipients?
It is addressed to Tracy Miner, and I am CC'd on that email.
What is the date and time of the email?
The date is January 6th of 2023, and the time is 3:39 p.m.
And can you read the body of the email?
Yes, sir. Attorney Miner, as requested, the Norfolk District Attorney's Office agrees that in the investigation to Anna Walshe, any conversation between the attorney and client Brian Walshe is excluded from the search and examination of Brian Walsh's phone and the minor child's iPad. It is further agreed that any conversation between Brian Walshe and his wife, Anna Walshe, 1 week before she was missing, 12/25/22 and prior, shall be excluded from the search and examination of Brian Walsh's phone and the minor child's iPad. Should you have any questions, please contact me, Lynn Beeland, First Assistant District Attorney, Norfolk County, and the phone number.
And just for the record, when you say minor child, you are putting that in there opposed to reading the child's name.
Yes, sir.
Now, was there a response to that email that's in the chain?
Yes, there is.
Can you read the response, sir?
The response is, we consent to all communications on or after 12/25. If you want to go back further than that, I will have to get you a list of attorneys, as he has used a bunch of them.
And is there a subsequent response to that?
Yes, there is.
And can you read that?
Okay, I'm going to pause there. As you hear the email that was sent from Lynn Beeland to Tracy Miner. Any communications prior to this date? No, you can't look for that. Any communications after this date? Sure. You have 2 cell phones and 1 iPad. That's all that they consented to, right? And so when you say communications, right? Text messages, iMessages, WhatsApp, messages, right? Did they say anything else? Do they say, yeah, please go ahead and extract my entire phone and go look through everything, go look at pictures, videos, location data, which is very important. So the reason why we're going over this is this concerns everyone. And this concerns everyone in the digital world. If you are suspected of committing a crime of any nature, right? Your phone will lie. Well, your phone will tell on you, right? It tells you where you are, what you're doing. The metadata tells you exactly all of these things. They will figure things out. And I'm not telling you to hide things. I'm not telling you to crime better, etc. But when it comes to getting your phone searched, it is very important to be super specific as to what you are allowing them to do. Now, mind you, if you have committed a crime and you are under arrest and they have a search warrant to search your phone, none of this matters. But if you are cooperating and you're a cooperating witness and they say, here, let me take your phone and extract the information on there, be very wary. And I've got a good example of this. So we were talking a little bit the other day about the Aiden Carney case. Aiden Carney's alleged victim was Lindsay Gattani, and she was working with the Norfolk DA's office. They wanted to take a look at her phone as to the communications between her and Aiden Carney. And what did they do? They downloaded the entire phone. They extracted everything. Not only did they extract everything, but they gave it to Carney because in part of his defense, that's part of the evidence. So they gave him everything. And then later on retracted it, and Carney's team had to give it back. But in the meantime, the damage was already done. So everything that was on her phone, his defense team got to look through. And, Aiden Carney is not a person who sits silent. He pretty much put it on blast. I'm speculating here. I think he gave it to a friend, and a friend put everything out on blast. And that is another reason why Lindsay Gattani, is suing the Norfolk DA's office, Michael Morrissey, and the special prosecutor in Aiden's case, Cosgrove, because they violated her rights. Now, what will come from it, I don't know. But what will come of this? Let's continue to watch.
Adding to the record.
That date is fine, thank you.
And that was sent from whom?
That was sent from Lynn Beelan.
Did you receive any further email communication from First Assistant Beeland and Minor after that third entry into the email chain?
I have not, no.
Now, once that was done, those emails had been exchanged. What did you do as far as trying to get the iPads or trying to get the devices?
I didn't do anything about trying to get the devices.
Why didn't you go get them?
I was tasked with traveling out of state, and I was not going to be present.
Where were you supposed to go as a result of traveling out of state?
I was traveling to Washington, D.C.
Why were you going to Washington, D.C.?
The information we had at the time and the multiple reports on coming from D.C., living in D.C., and having traveled back to D.C., based on my conversation with Diana Walshe, I traveled to D.C. to go find Anna.
Did you meet up with anyone in law enforcement to help you in D.C.?
Yes.
Who?
It was Detective Lieutenant Lopes and two troopers from another unit on the state police.
Now, so after the email exchange comes through, who do you inform that you've now received permission from Attorney Minor?
I informed Lieutenant Fanning.
And who is Lieutenant Fanning in the chain of command of the detectives unit?
Da 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 da! Enter Lieutenant Fanning. Oh yes, Mr. Fanning. Mr. Fanning supposedly wasn't a person in the Karen Reed trial, but yet his names are on the emails, so he's somewhat connected. Fanning is all over the Karen Reed case. Apparently, he and Colleen Crawford had a digital company together where they edited videos, and it is speculated that they edited some of the videos in the Karen Reed trial. Could be it could be the Sally Port videos. That's why they might have been inverted. Also, the library video has got some missing pieces in it as well. It's also speculated in some other cases that there were some edited videos that Colleen Crawford and Fanning had their hands on. Again, speculation, but again, when I talk about coincidences and things adding up, quacks like a duck, it's a duck. So let's continue. Who else is in the game?
He was the executive officer at the time in the unit.
And where were you when you informed Lieutenant Fanning?
I was in the command post.
And where was the command post located?
It was located a short distance down the street from 516 Chief Justice Cushing Highway in a shopping plaza parking lot behind the stores.
Now, when you informed Lieutenant Fanning, were you talking to him in person, or was this over the phone, or whatnot?
It was in person.
So, at the command post on the late afternoon of Friday, January 6th, how many state troopers were in and around this area at this point in time?
There were dozens and dozens.
And so, are you aware of who collected the devices from Brian Walshe on January 6th?
I am not aware now.
So you didn't go to collect the devices?
No, I did not.
When did you return from Washington, D.C.?
It was during the late evening hours of January 8th. It was Sunday, I believe, if I'm not mistaken on the date.
And did you have any further conversation with Attorney Minor about the devices after the phone calls and the emails?
No, I did not.
So after the email chain is done, do you have any further phone calls?
No.
And to be specific, with Attorney Minor?
No.
And going back to the second phone call, you told Attorney Minor that you wanted to look at the iPad?
Yes.
And can you just tell us what you told her about wanting to look at the iPad?
The conversation about the extractions of full data extraction was in reference to the two cell phones. We went into detail about that. Once she consented to those cell phones, I asked if we could also do the same with the iPad.
Was there any concerns about communications on the iPad?
No, there was not.
Did you explain to her whose iPad it was?
Yes, I did.
And when you explained to her, who did you tell was the user of the iPad?
I told her that based on my understanding, it was the 6-year-old Guarino.
And did you tell her did you tell her anything further about the use of the iPad and why you were looking at it?
No, I did not.
One moment, Your Honor.
Yes?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. So I have concerns, grave concerns. Again, I haven't seen the email, so I'm not sure in the email, was it listed 2 phones and an iPad? Or was it just the 2 phones? And then now he's sort of like backtracking and saying, I had a conversation with her about the iPad. So is the iPad also in contention here as to whether or not they agreed for that to be searched? Let's find out.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Ross?
Good afternoon, sir.
Under examination, you described your interaction with Diane Walshe.
Yes, sir.
And so you were involved in interviewing Diana Walshe along with the 6-year-old son.
At portions of it, yes.
When you say portions of it, what portions?
The 6-year-old was not present during the entire interview with Diana.
But you were present for the entire interview with Diana Walshe.
I was.
You didn't have any involvement in the interview Mr. Walsh on January 5th?
No, not the official interview. I just introduced myself and met him. Brief communication verbally, not a formal interview.
Did you arrive at the home at the same time with the other officers who eventually did conduct an interview with Mr. Walsh on January 5th?
If I'm not mistaken, we all arrived together, yes, sir.
So you were sitting, is it fair to say that during these two different interviews, you were in different rooms?
Yes, we were separated. The two rooms are separated by the stairwell or staircase and a wall, I believe, in the home. That's right in the middle of the building. But there's a open space for the front and the rear through the kitchen.
It's fair to say then that there were times during these interviews that you could hear people asking Mr. Walsh questions, correct?
To be accurate, because we were having our own conversation, I merely heard voices. I could not hear the specifics of their conversation or who was speaking.
And it's entirely accurate, isn't it, to say that the entire time that you talked to Diane Walsh, that Mr. Walsh, Mr. Brian Walsh, he was never present for any of that, correct?
With our conversation, sir? No, he was not.
So when you were asked all these questions on direct examination, and you were describing the behaviors of Diane Walsh as you interpreted them, it's fair to say that Mr. Walsh had nothing to do with any of those behaviors of Diane Walsh that you were observing.
Are you asking if he was influencing her behavior?
Yeah.
I could not suggest that, no.
And I mean, she is the grandmother of this the 6-year-old that you were also talking to, right?
That's my understanding, yes, sir.
And this 6-year-old was telling you in his own words what he remembered about seeing his mother, correct?
Yes, the information of his recollection was in his own words.
And when you were asked questions on direct examination about the iPad fixing it, you used the word manipulation, right?
That is a term I use, yes.
Okay. You don't have any specific knowledge about what you characterized as the manipulation of the iPad.
The knowledge I have is that I was told she fixed the device for him. Diana said that the button was broken. Those types of manipulations of the device, in my training experience, would be logged within the database on the device.
But based on that information that you just told the court, when Diane Walsh mentioned a button, what button was it?
She didn't specify.
Okay. And it's fair to say that you didn't make any effort to see if the button was now working or whatever button she was referring to was working, correct?
Correct. I did not see, no.
So you really don't know, do you, at the time, that the iPad was in fact not working, or if it just didn't come on? You really don't know. You're just going on the fact that Diane Walsh said something about a button wasn't working.
It was the child's information that he passed along to us, and what Diana shared as well.
And the only question that you testified to, that you asked Diana Walsh, that you asked the 6-year-old, was something to the effect, do you know where your mother is, or do you know where your mother went? That was when Diane Walsh interjected and made a comment, correct?
That specific question, she interrupted my full question, so I could not ask the full question. The question was interrupted.
Now, it's fair to say that you haven't been trained in interviewing young juvenile children, correct?
I don't have specific training for young juvenile children, but I am trained in interviews and interrogations.
Right, but you would agree that there are people that are trained specifically to interview young children, correct?
I am aware that there are specialists that conduct SANE interviews.
And you are aware?
All right. See? Ding, 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 ding. Exactly what I said earlier. He's not trained to talk to individuals. Now, I'm going to give them some credit, right? In this current environment, as I stated, we're on January 5th or 6th. I'm lost in the date timeline, but we're somewhere within 4 or 5 days out of Anna missing, right? They are still working the case as a missing persons case, missing persons. And they're, again, I'm not faulting their efforts. They're doing everything they can to try to find her. They've got a command post. They've got all these officers. They're trying to locate her. He goes to DC. He is trying to look her. So he is doing his job. Now, again, it is the defense's position in the world of criminal attorneys to poke holes in the policies and procedures and the actions of the police officers. So again, they're just doing their jobs. Everybody's doing their job. Whether or not Yuri did his up to the standards and codes is another question. So let's continue.
The fact that eventually on January 5th, there was an agreement to have the young child, the 6-year-old, interviewed by a trained specialist, correct?
I'm not certain of the date when the agreement happened, but I am aware that there was an agreement to do something like that along those lines.
And that would be done by someone in Norfolk, correct? In fact, I think the office that they use is in Norwalk, correct? Do you know that?
I am not aware of the location outside of Foxborough, but I could be wrong.
And you would agree, wouldn't you, that in your experience, it's not unusual, is it, for a parent or a grandparent to protect their child or grandchild from certain questions that they think may upset them?
No, I wouldn't say that it's unusual that a child or a parent or a grandparent would do something like that. No.
All right. If I understand your direct examination and some of your questions, and please correct me if I'm wrong, you did or you did not have any conversation with Assistant District Attorney Lynn Beal regarding any supposed agreement?
I don't have a memory of talking to Lynn Beal on the phone about the agreement.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Oh boy. Oh, oh gosh. Mm-mm. No, no, no. Again, I need a BS media or something like that. I'm sorry. I don't buy that. Again, how does Lynn Beelan get involved? Did Tracy Minor contact her? I don't think so. Yuri is the middle person, right? He had a conversation with Tracy Minor. She's like, hey, you can go look at you can go look at my client's phone for XYZ. I want something in writing. Who's the go-between? How does Lynn Beeland know Tracy Minor exists in the Brian Walshe case? I don't buy it. So why? Why? Is he covering up something? Is he lying? Why? The suspicious behavior. Why is I don't recall? I don't know. It gets just frustrating. But we're going to continue. So let's see what else Yuri has to say.
And it's fair to say that you've been asked by the Commonwealth in this case to search your records, your emails, whatever, for any such evidence of communicating with Assistant District Attorney Lynn Beelan regarding this agreement. Correct?
I have been asked, yes.
And you conducted that search and you found nothing.
Conversations over the phone. I don't have a conversation over the phone specifically in reference to the agreement.
So
But the email is produced. I'm CC'd on it.
right, but you don't know about the content of any conversation between Assistant District Attorney Lynn Beelan and Attorney Tracy Minor regarding that agreement.
I do not know. No.
And it's fair to say that you never attempted to contact Lynn Beelan to make sure that you understood what the parameters were of any agreement, did you?
I did not contact Lynn Beelan. The email spoke for itself.
Oh, Larry Tipton. Larry Tipton is Brian Walsh's attorney. That is a very good question. A very good question. You see, sometimes the law has a gray space, right? It's not black, it's not white. There's gray in the middle. And this is where, if you go back to the Karen Reed trial and you see him and you see the Massachusetts State Police and their tactics, etc., they work within the gray space. And I guess maybe as a police officer, that is your job. You're trying to make sure that you find the bad guys, right? And we want them to. We want them to get the bad guys off the street, etc. But you have to do the right thing and you have to follow the letter of the law. When you get into these gray spaces, you are creating holes, you're creating doubt, you're creating issues of your credibility. And when you operate within these parameters, it's so hard to like gloss it over and be like, "Well, you did the right thing. He's a good guy." I don't know. This just my opinion. You watch and see. Let's continue.
Well, you've testified here today that, for instance, you just answered a question on direct examination, that the iPad had no limitations put on, like the search of the iPhone, correct?
Rephrase the question.
Were there any limitations put on any search of the iPad?
Those search limitations were included in the email, and it referenced all devices that we were going to get on consent.
Now, you've also told us that your discussions with Attorney Tracy Minor involved discussing and seizing cell phones, correct?
Yes, there were 2 cell phones, as I mentioned prior, and the iPad that we were aware of.
And regarding the 2 cell phones, we can all agree that.
All right. So there is somewhat of a clarification. Cell phones. So why are we talking about iPads? The email says cell phones. So Larry Tipton is starting to tread into waters where it is the gray space. Welcome to the gray space. Let's continue.
One of them was purportedly Mr. Walsh's personal cell phone, and the other cell phone was the one in the Volvo that was attributed to the young 6-year-old, correct?
Yes, sir.
There is no reference in the email that you've referred to today to a second cell phone.
I'd have to take a look at the email, but my understanding through our communications, myself and Tracy Minor, were for 2 cell phones and the 6-year-old's iPad.
Well, I understand that's your memory. I'm asking you that with regards to the email that's been introduced into evidence, there's no reference to a second cell phone, is there?
Don't blink, Yuri. Don't blink. Look real hard. Read that email real again. Come on. What are you going to answer to? What are you going to say? Hurry, hurry. Formulate your opinion.
Yes, based on my reviewing of that email content, there's no reference of a second phone.
And there's no reference to anything other than Brian Walsh's cell phone in that email.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question again, please?
There's no reference to any other cell phone other than Brian Walsh's cell phone in that email agreement.
Great question.
Talks about the 6-year-old's iPad.
Right, but there's no reference to a second cell phone or any other cell.
Okay, so I'm mistaken. Child's iPad and cell phone. And they're saying second cell phone. Are they referring to the child's cell phone? Again, it's a little convoluted. We're getting there. We're getting the pieces together. Let's continue.
Phone in that email agreement.
That is correct.
And in fact, there's certainly nothing about all of the minor children's cell phones.
That's correct.
There's reference in that email to one iPad, correct?
Yes.
And there's no reference to more than one iPad in that email, is there?
Just the 6-year-old's iPad.
Sergeant, it's fair to say that you wrote a report where you were discussing this agreement?
Yes, it is. Yes.
And did you review that report before you testified here today on direct examination?
I did review it. Yes.
And it's fair to
Okay. I'm going to pause there for a second. In the Karen Reed trial, it has been known that Massachusetts State Police officers are known to backdate their reports. It was evident throughout the trial that they're like magically, oh, here, a year later, here's my report. And I mean, hindsight 2020, right? When you write a report, you're supposed to write a report then and there to recollect the happenings of the then and the now. When you write one a year later, is your memory better or worse as to what you were supposed to be writing the report about? And it seems as though MSP got their hand caught in the cookie jar and they're like, oh, I'm just going to go quickly make up a report. Here you go. And then it was submitted into evidence. And again, I don't know the rules, but most likely you're like, how can this be evidence if you're not giving it to us in a proper and timely manner. Anyways, I digress, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of background. I don't know if it happened in this case or not. Let's continue and listen on and see where Larry Tipton is going to in this instance.
Say that in that report, you make reference to an agreement that encompassed, quote, his cell phones in regard to Brian Walshe. And you use those cell phones, plural, correct? In your report.
I believe that's right, if you're not mistaken.
Do you have that report with you?
I don't have it here with me now.
And if you need to refresh your memory, just tell us. But you also, in that report, make specific reference to the agreement encompassed his minor children's, plural, cell phones, correct?
I'd have to take a look at the report, sir.
That's right. May I approach you?
Report. Let's look at the report. When was this report written? Was this report written like then? Was it written a year later? Because if it's written a year later, then obviously we already know that they collected all the phones and
Thank you, sir.
and multiple iPads, etc.
I got you.
If it was written, I don't know. I guess it doesn't really matter. If it was written after the fact, right? Versus at the time. Again, words and timing matter. Sorry. Just my opinion. And Yuri's smart, don't get me wrong. He's great. He can testify very well, and he chooses his words very carefully, which he should. I mean, he is a trained police officer. He's testified in many cases. And he should be very careful with his words because words matter. Again, remember, this is not in the presence of the jury. Brian Walshe is not on trial right now. This is just in front of the judge. This is an evidentiary hearing. Did they seize the phones and do the extraction properly?
Does that refresh your memory about what you entered into your report that you drafted about this?
Yes, it does.
Does it refresh your memory that, in fact, you make reference to cell phones plural when it comes to Mr. Walsh's cell phone?
Yes, it does.
Does it refresh your memory that, in fact, you made reference to all the children's cell phones?
Yes.
Does it refresh your memory that it referred to the children's iPads?
Yes.
Is it also fair to say that at the end of that report, you make specific reference that, quote, the agreement is attached to this report?
Yes, sir.
And the agreement we're talking about is what's already been introduced in evidence, correct?
That is correct, sir.
It's fair to say that that agreement that was introduced in evidence does not refer to multiple cell phones, multiple iPads, correct?
That is correct, sir.
And in fact, you said on direct examination that you had some conversation with Fanning, and Fanning then arranged to pick up the devices, correct?
That's correct.
Are you aware of the fact that Fanning has written a report about what he went to pick up?
I am not aware now.
Did you talk to Fanning about what he had gone to pick up and what in fact he did pick up?
No, I never spoke to exactly what he picked up.
So you don't know that when Fanning went to Mr. Walsh's house to pick up the devices pursuant to the agreement, he only knew to pick up one cell phone and one iPad, correct? Or do you know?
I don't know what he actually picked up. I communicated 2 cell phones and an iPad.
And my question is, though, that you apparently don't know that based on the conversation he had with you at the command post, that he thought he was only supposed to pick up one cell phone and one iPad. You don't know that, do you?
I never questioned Lieutenant Fanning on what he picked up.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Check at this point, like we did reduce this report. No objection, Your Honor.
22. You marked and admitted as Exhibit 22.
I just want to make a reiteration that the judge that you're hearing is Judge Vernier. Again, she appears to be a very fair and judge, and she runs her courtroom very efficiently. So you will, if you've seen the Karen Reed trial, you'll get the comparison between her and Judge Canoni. And then again, you can make your own assumptions as to fairness of judges. Let's continue.
Specifically, Sergeant, in that report that now is Exhibit 22, you specifically say the agreement was put into writing by Norfolk District Attorney's First Assistant Lynn Beelan, correct?
Yes, I do.
The agreement, you're referring to the email that's been introduced into evidence, correct?
That is correct.
There's nothing in the agreement that uses the phrase marital privilege, is there?
No, sir.
There's nothing in your conversations that you put in your report that was to document this agreement. There's no reference to marital privilege, is there?
I'm sorry. There was two things you asked about. There was no mention of marital privilege outside of the statement about excluding communications between Anna and Brian Walshe.
And the phrase marital privilege does not appear in your report that's been introduced as Exhibit 22.
No.
And it doesn't appear in the, quote, agreement email that's been introduced in it.
That statement does not appear now.
Okay, I'm going to pause it there for a second. Is Larry Tipton intimating, suggesting that Tracy Minor brought up the fact of marital privilege, right? And marital communications. And, you know, again, not a lawyer, but common sense says communications between spouses cannot be used to incriminate somebody. Again, that's like, I guess, in reference to like criming. So is he intimating that Tracy Minor said that you can't look at any privileged information between the two parties? Is that what he's suggesting? I don't know the answer to that, but that's kind of a question that's in my mind. I have questions. You do too. Let's see if they get answered.
And the only thing that is referenced, the only subject matter that's referenced in the email agreement is, quote, communications.
That's the only subject matter that needed to be carved out of the full extraction.
Okay, I'm going to pause again. So I have an issue. Again, questions. I have so many questions. When you are communicating, a lawyer, right? Tracy Minor's a lawyer. She's communicating to the district attorney who's a lawyer. Communications is a very broad term, right? And you have to look at it and say, let's look at it specifically. What communications is she talking about? Communications is broad. Does that leave, does it open up the window for which communications is she referring to? Again, if you are not specific in your attempts to say limiting the police or anybody for that matter into looking at your stuff, you have to be specific. Text messages, this, communications about XYZ. I mean, even then, even if you even narrow the scope down and you curtail it specifically to something in general, it leaves the door open for, well, did you interpret it as this? Did you interpret it as that? Again, we're in the gray space here, and it leaves the door wide open. So is this part of Judge Frenier? Judge Frenier has to decide. They're in front of her to decide whether these text messages and stuff that they found on the phones and the iPads and what have you led to them going to find the location data, led them to go finding it, et cetera, et cetera. And it just like was a path, like you're in Candyland and you go to the candy cane forest. It leads them down the path to the candy cane forest, and whammo shablamo, they find incriminating evidence. He's indicted for schmurder, right? Did the police do their due diligence? And are they in the gray space where it's not black and white? So Judge Frenier has to decide whether or not the police did their job and whether or not this evidence can come into trial. Let's continue on.
That wasn't my question. My question was the only subject matter that is referenced in the agreement is communications.
Yes, sir.
Do you know, Sergeant, do you know when Mr. Walsh first talked to Tracy Minor, his attorney, about the request to search his phone?
I have no idea.
And do you know, Sergeant Bukhenik, when Tracy Minor, Attorney Tracy Minor, and Assistant District Attorney Lynn Beelan first began discussing the request to search Mr. Walsh's phone?
I would strictly be speculating when they first began. My only knowledge is to the email being sent from Lynn.
Have you talked to Assistant District Attorney, now retired, Lynn Beelan, regarding this agreement prior to this hearing?
I have no memory of talking to her about this agreement.
So the government, the Commonwealth, has not asked you to go talk to retired Assistant District Attorney Lynn Beelan and say, what did you and Attorney Tracy Minor agree to? You haven't been asked to do that.
No, sir.
Now, it's fair to say that there are consent to search forms used routinely by the Mass State Police, correct?
Yes, sir.
Ding, 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 ding. Oh boy. So they have forms as well. I mean, gee, if the Cohasset Police have it, why doesn't Massachusetts State Police have it? Massachusetts State Police, I mean, you have your regular agencies within the towns, and then the Mass State Police is over all of that, right? So if the little people have it, why don't the bigger people have it? Ooh, I can't wait to see how he's going to answer this question. Hold on.
And those consent to search forms, they require information to be entered on the form. It includes the person giving consent and the officer taking the consent, correct?
Yes, it is.
And they also include an area where you describe what is going to be searched, correct?
There's detailed explanation on the forms, yes.
And it's signed and dated by the person giving consent and a witness, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the reason for this is to make sure that people understand what consent was given, that it was given voluntarily, and what the parameters of any consent were, correct?
That is the purpose behind us reading those consent forms to the individuals we're getting the consent from.
And you didn't use one in this case.
No, sir.
And it's fair to say
Ding, 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 ding. There you go. There you go. Why? Why? Now, I realize that Yuri was on his way probably to DC to go see if he can find where Anna is, and he had Fanning just go pick up the stuff. I'm not saying they're doing anything nefarious. I'm not saying they're doing anything wrong. They just aren't following what I call the letter of the law. There are just too many coincidences, or I should just say maybe not giving a care, right? That is one of the things that happened in John O'Keefe's case. That's what they're being accused of. Haphazardly conducting an investigation into the death of Boston police officer John O'Keefe. Just, questioning people randomly. Oh, is it this, is it that? And the implication thinking that Karen Reed hit him with this car, she's the one that's guilty, slam dunk, we're just not going to continue on any further. Where is the care? Where is the I'm going to continue to do my job and cross all the T's and dot all the I's? Where is that? It's just the lack of, I feel like it's just like the lack of care, and also it also sometimes comes across as very arrogant. Oh, that's just another procedure that we have to do, and we're not going to do that. Who does that? And it's also we are the Massachusetts State Police. Who are you to question us? But here you are. You're here on the stand. You're in the stand in Karen Reed's case. You're here now. There's going to be future cases where they're going to be testifying as to their policies and everything that they've done since the Karen Reed case. They are going to be questioned left, right, and center. Why didn't you follow this procedure? Why didn't you do that? That's why we're going to do a deep dive. We already did Canton deep dive as to where all these police officers are. Now we're going to deep dive into the Massachusetts State Police. Most of these guys either retired or have been reassigned. Why are you reassigned? Because you didn't do your job properly, and now you got to go somewhere else. Trooper Michael Proctor got fired. You know how hard it is to fire a Massachusetts State Police? They have a union. It is super, super difficult to do that. And then with all of these 10,000 plus text messages and photos and videos that Proctor has coming out, who knows what's going to come out from there? The fallout is going to be huge. But here we are in Brian Walsh's case. What's going to happen? Let's continue.
you certainly had an opportunity to use one because you were at the home on January 5th, 2023, prior to any consent being given and any agreement being made, correct?
I was at the home at that point. I did not ask for consent on the 5th.
Okay. But yeah, move it on.
You may.
I'm going to show you a document, and it's not from this case. But is it fair to say that that is an accurate representation of the consent to search form that's used by the Mass State Police?
Although it does appear as a form that's generated by the state police, that's not the form we use. So I can't represent that this is what we would have used.
What is different? What is different from that form you're looking at now and the form that you say would be used by the Mass State Police?
Well, there's a lot of different characteristics of the form itself, just the way it appears, the way it's presented, the bottom portion as well. It's just slightly different.
Can I ask you then, Sergeant Bukhenik, is it fair to say that that form, substantive, whatever form you're referring to, the consent to search form, would have included exactly what that form's asking for? Name of the person giving consent, a witness to sign on it, informing the person of their right to refuse consent, but also listing what and describing what is to be searched?
I would agree with you, yes.
So, with that caveat, I would move to introduce.
Your Honor, I object. If the council wants, I'm happy to get a copy of their form they generated.
Why don't we do that? That's the form that they actually might be using now as opposed to that form. There's no dispute with regard to the contents of the form. He didn't fight you on that. He agrees with you. It's an evidence. You don't need the form that he's not familiar with.
And I'll get a blank one and we'll stipulate to it as an exhibit.
That sounds terrific.
I did ask for one, but I didn't have
You didn't ask for, you asked for what, on what?
it.
Oh, previously?
I apologize to council. I have no memory of you asking for it. I will make sure
We
that.
can reach agreement on this, I'm sure.
With regards to the agreement, there's nothing in the agreement email that has been produced as an exhibit. It references anything about search histories, correct?
No, that specific term is not in the email.
And there's nothing in the email about location data, correct?
That's correct.
And once again, the only subject matter that's referenced in that email agreement is quote communication, correct?
Yes, as what to be excluded, yes.
Well, when you say what to be excluded, it's just, I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but this will be my last question on this particular subject. The email agreement makes reference to what communications will be limited, and it makes specific reference to certain attorney-client conversations, communications, and communications between Mr. Walsh and Anna Walsh, correct?
That is what to be limited during the search and analysis of the device's data.
It certainly doesn't say, does it? Anywhere in that agreement that the agreement is that everything that's downloaded can be reviewed and analyzed, correct? Doesn't say that in the agreement.
It does not specify that.
And it's important, isn't it? Just like that form that you were talking about a moment ago, it's important, isn't it, to be very specific in any written agreement as to what the terms of the agreement are, right?
It's important to understand what is being done. Our verbal communications mentioned phone extractions. That means all of the data on the phone. And what was to be limited based on our verbal communication, then subsequently put into email form, was the communications between client and attorney and Mr. and Mrs. Walsh.
But that's the way you're interpreting the content of this email that you did not write and did not respond.
All right. So, ding, 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 right? We're talking about gray space here. What he interprets versus what's written on the email versus no consent form. If there is not a meeting of the minds, there's not an agreement, there's not a meeting of the minds where everybody is on what's called the same page, then this happens. And again, I'm not telling you how to crime better, but if you're helping the police in any investigation and they want to get your cell phone, make sure you have it in writing as to exactly what they're looking for. But also note, there's going to be a whoopsie. We downloaded all of these things and it could come back to bite you in the butt. So again, just be careful. Let's continue.
That's fair, isn't it?
For the latter portion, yes, I did not write this email, nor did I respond to it. But the verbal agreement on the phone with Attorney Minor was that we were doing a full system data extraction on the devices provided that were consented to.
That's your memory.
Yes, it is.
And your memory is that the agreement also included all of Mr. Walsh's cell phones, all of the children's cell phones, and all of the children's iPads.
No, my memory was that the devices I knew about was Mr. Walsh's cell phone that was missing, the children's cell phone that was in Mr. Walsh's vehicle, and the iPad reference to by the 6-year-old, which was fixed by Anna. That's why the communication with Tracy Minor was about 2 cell phones with the iPad thrown in on top of those 2 devices.
Sergeant Bukhenik, just on that particular answer question. The second sentence in your report that you wrote, that's dated January 6, 2023, you wrote specifically, during numerous phone conversations, we established a verbal agreement for the digital evidence extraction of devices belonging to and being used by Brian Walsh and his juvenile children to include Thomas Walsh, 6-year-old, Thomas Walsh's 6-year-old. Those include his cell phones and his minor children's cell phones and tablets. Correct?
If that's verbatim from my report, that is what's written.
So my question that I asked you just a moment ago was, your memory of the agreement, was it involved all of those devices, not just the 2 that we're talking about?
My conversation with Attorney Minor was for the 2 cell phones I knew existed and were referenced.
So why did you put all those other devices in your report that you wrote specifically about the agreement?
I don't understand.
Okay. So remember where I was talking to you about MSP has a problem with backdating reports. I don't know when this report was written. It says dated January 6th. Did he backdate it? Because here he's saying what the agreement was between Tracy Minor and Lynn Beeland, and that is what he initially went for. But his report says more than just that. So I believe, and I believe in my thought process, and again, we'll get to Fanning's testimony, is I think John Fanning went in there and was like, hey, what, somehow or another, the devices got taken. And I think Brian Walsh was confused as to what devices should or shouldn't be taken. And then whoever was there to take the devices, I don't want to say coerced him into it, but we're like, hey, I'm here to pick up all the devices. Hey, I see this and I see that. And again, not a meeting of the minds in the gray space. And when you have that, there's confusion. Everything gets muddled. And the police, I'm sorry, they're there to investigate. They're not there to be your friend. They're going to do anything and everything to get all the information to find out incriminating evidence against you. So let's continue.
Why did you refer to all of those devices in the one single report that you wrote and refer to it as the agreement? Why did you include all of the devices?
Because there was knowledge of other devices existing. So there was Diana's statement that she purchased cell phones for all the children.
Okay.
And iPads and AirTags, etc. So there were other electronic devices that could have come into play.
You would agree, wouldn't you, Sergeant Bukhenik, that there is some real ambiguity between what you stated as the content of the agreement in your report and that email that has been introduced in evidence?
I don't think it's ambiguous, no.
Were you present at the home, Mr. Walsh's home, on January 6th of 2023?
I don't remember. I don't remember going to the home. I might have been. I don't remember going to the home. I know I was at the command post. There was other missions I was conducting. I don't have a specific memory of being at the house. But if you have a specific question about maybe what transpired, I could give you an answer.
Do you know that there were numerous searches conducted to the house on January 6th?
I know that the CERT team and the dive team conducted searches around.
Oh boy. Did you hear that? The CERT team. S-E-R-T. I'm not exactly sure what that stands for. Search. I don't know what the E stands for. Rescue team, search and extricate team. I don't know what the E stands for. So if you've heard the CERT team before, where have you heard that before? Karen Reed case, right? The CERT team is supposed to be, I guess I could look it up specifically. They're like a search and rescue team, right? They go out and find people. If somebody is out on a boat and they're drowning, CERT team, right? If they are missing, in Anna's case, they're out looking for her, etc. But the CERT team was called to 34 Fairview in Karen Reed's case to look for evidence. And we will do a deep dive into that as to what evidence the CERT team found versus what was found days and weeks later. Again, there's the impropriety of, well, the CERT team only found XYZ. How and why are you finding things elsewhere? But in this case, the CERT team was called out to find Anna Walshe. Just, more coincidences. Quinkydinks.
In the home. I was not present for those searches. I was at the command post.
And you weren't there because you were in D.C. on January 7th.
That's correct. Early morning, January 7th, I left for D.C.
Just so I'm following along, the date that you were using was 1/6.
Yes, from when searches were conducted.
Right, but he left on 1/7.
Right, he's
He
not.
could have been there, but he's at the outpost. I just want to make sure I'm trying to follow along with what the evidence is and that you're not missing up the dates. That's why I'm asking.
I could be messing up the dates. I'll be the
I
first
don't
to
know.
admit that.
I'll
But
let you go.
let me just say,
giving you the opportunity to correct it if I've got something wrong. But I've raised it.
I
And maybe
appreciate.
I'm the one that has it wrong.
When did you leave for DC on January 7th?
Oh, you gotta love Judge Fernier. Isn't she great? Hey, I need to correct the record. What date are we talking about? Where are you, when, etc.? Who's where? Again, I'm confused too. So she asked a great question. Tipton said there were people coming in and who were searching the house. And I guess at the time you can say, oh, you were searching, what devices did you find, etc., etc., etc. Convoluted gray area. Let's continue.
Early morning hours. I don't know the exact time of the flight. Could have been 8, 9 a.m. But I never responded to Cohasset. I went from my home.
So you were not at the home on January 7th.
No, sir, I was not.
And you're not sure if you were at the home on January 6th.
I do not have a specific memory of being there. I might have. There.
But we can all agree you were there on January 5th.
Yes, sir.
Were you there on January 8th?
No, I was not.
I apologize. Might be having some internet issues, so I apologize for the stopping and starting. So I'm not sure if it's on my part or YouTube's part, etc. But let's continue.
And did you negotiate, as you call it, the agreement? Did you negotiate the dates that are involved?
The person wants us to exclude would be excluded. Brian Walshe was eager to help us find Anna. The same sentiment was felt by me from Tracy Minor. She was trying to help while conducting her responsibilities as a defense attorney. So that was my understanding based on our conversation.
But was it your understanding that regardless of the communications that are referenced in there, attorney-client communications and communications between Mr. Walshe and Anna Walshe, that in fact there was a temporal limit placed on any search of the devices?
Can you rephrase that question, please? The temporal limit, I just want to make sure I understand correctly.
That in fact there was a date of
Sorry. So sorry. I have to laugh. If you know, right? So Karen Reed case, Alan Jackson, who is Karen's defense attorney, had asked Yuri Bukhenik, did he have a theory about what had happened? Does he have a theory in the case? And Yuri was not happy with Alan Jackson. Again, this was in the second trial, so this was round 2. And remember, the defense claims that the Massachusetts State Police planted evidence and that their cops are corrupt. That's what they intimated, right? Or that's what they continue to intimate, right? And that it's a frame job. They're framing Karen Reed for the death of John O'Keefe, and that all these people are in on it. And Alan Jackson asked Yuri if he had a theory on the case, and he snidely responded that he didn't know what the word theory was, and if Alan could provide him with a dictionary so that he could look up that word, because English is not his first language. English is, I think, like his third language, he said. And so I have to laugh because he obviously he's claiming he doesn't know what the meaning of this word is that Mr. Tipton has said to him, which is funny, but he didn't ask for a dictionary. So, and again, he's not on trial, right? There's no jury present right now. It's just, they're just asking questions in front of the judge. So I find it hilarious that, this is going on. And I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe that this current testimony that he's giving is within the parameters of Karen Reed trial going on at the same time. Let's see, is there a date on this? Let me see if I can make it bigger. Oh, I'll have to look when we're done with this. I'll look to see when it is on this. And then I think that he was getting ready to testify in trial number 2, if I'm not mistaken, or had already testified. So either way, he didn't ask for a dictionary here, which I find hilarious. So maybe I'll find that clip and we'll play the dictionary clip. Anyways, he seems to be a little bit more amenable in this questioning than he did with Alan Jackson. Let's continue.
12/25/2022 that the search parameter would begin, and there was an ending date of January 6, 2023 of the search parameter when the search would end. Are you aware of that?
I am aware of the date that we couldn't go back past, and that was the 25th. So we couldn't search for communications between client and attorney before the 25th, as well as Mr. and Mrs. Walsh's communications.
And I guess what I heard you say was that it wasn't you that suggested 12:25, correct?
Right. I wouldn't have a reason to pick a date. That date, other than being Christmas, it made had no significance to me.
And it wasn't you who picked the date of January 6th, 2023.
I believe it was present. So the term used was present.
On direct examination, you used the word documentation in the context of what Attorney Tracy Minor asked for. You remember that?
Yes.
And was it documentation regarding what the agreement was?
She just wanted to put in writing, so we needed to document what the specifics were.
And was it also documentation about what, in fact, searches were conducted and how they were conducted?
No, we didn't discuss the details of the searches. She just wanted specific things excluded from the analysis and the searching of the data from those devices. And that is what was documented by First Assistant Lynn Beelan. And she agreed to it.
That's all I have, Judge. Thank you. Thank you.
Redirect.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sergeant, what memory do you have of Attorney Minor mentioning marital privilege in your conversation?
No memory whatsoever.
The same that would mention, where does the District Attorney's Office and the State Police do those forensic examinations of children?
To the best of my knowledge, at the NAC in Foxborough, if I'm not mistaken.
And do you have any certifications in cell phone analysis?
I do.
And what certifications do you have?
I have a Celebrate Basic course. It's a week-long course with certification.
So when you say the term digital evidence extraction, what significance does that have as far as celebrating your understanding?
It's a full file system download, basically a copy of what the device contains for data and information on it that's then transferred onto a processing computer with an exact copy. Then Celebrate parses out certain information that's either labeled or carved out if it has been deleted and no longer assigned a value that is of significance.
Did Attorney Minor request a consent form?
No, she did not.
She did not ask for a consent form. She should have, right? But hindsight's 2020, right? What are you going to do? What can you do? Let's continue.
Recross. The witness may step down.
Thank you, Anna.
All right, let's just see how much longer this is gonna go. We got about an hour left. Oh, we're gonna continue because do you see this gentleman here? It is Mr. Fanning, I believe. Oh, we're going to continue on. You're going to want to see this. You tell me in the comments what you think of Mr. Fanning after this. You can tell me what you think of Yuri as well. And based upon the if you know, you know, him needing a dictionary. Let's continue. By the way, the video jumps around. It's not me. The long crime edited some things out. It is what it is. We're here. Let's go, Mr. Fanning.
And you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sir, could you please state your name and spell your last name for the record?
Yes, good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Lieutenant John Fanning, Fanning.
And Lieutenant, where do you work?
I work for the Massachusetts State Police assigned to the Norfolk District Attorney's Office.
How long have you been with the Massachusetts State Police?
20 years next month.
And how long have you been assigned to the District Attorney's Office?
13 years.
And how long have you been a lieutenant?
Since December of 21.
Lieutenant, I'd like to ask you some questions concerning January 6th of 2023. That day, what was your involvement into the investigation to the disappearance of Anna Walshe?
I had responded to the command post in Cohasset behind the Stop and Shop off of Route 3A.
And at some point that day, did you leave to retrieve any digital devices?
I did.
Where were you going to get those devices?
The Walshe resident at 516 Chief Justice Cushing Highway.
And how did you know that you were able to go to that location to get those devices?
I initially had spoke to Sergeant Bukhenik, and then I spoke with Attorney Tracy Minor.
When did you speak to Attorney Minor, if you remember?
It would have been just before I left to go there. I'd say sometime in the 4 p.m. hour.
And how did you contact Attorney Minor?
By phone.
And can you tell us about the conversation you had with Attorney Minor?
Yes, I introduced myself. I hadn't met her previously, so made a brief introduction. Told her that I had spoken to Sergeant Bukhenik, that he was out of pocket because he was preparing for a trip to Washington, D.C., and that I'd be handling communications while he was gone. It was a cordial conversation. She was very cooperative. I explained that she had had a previous conversation with Sergeant Bukhenik and a email communication with First Assistant Len Beeland. I said, I'd like to go get those devices as soon as possible. She agreed. She said that Brian was home and that I could head over there. We also had a brief discussion about why the timeline of the Walshe oldest child, that he had stated that Anna had touched the device and fixed it for him. That was really important to us because we were trying to hone in on surveillance.
And so what did you tell Attorney Minor about that device? Is that what you said to her?
Yes, we had a conversation about the importance of narrowing down our search timeline for vehicles potentially coming to and from that residence.
Now, did you want to go get those right now, as you just said?
Well, we were trying to find Anna Walshe. It was important that we got those devices. It was my understanding from other investigators that Anna used different devices. That was according to Brian, that Anna had utilized multiple devices. Brian had stated to investigators in previous interviews that Anna would use his phone from time to time. She had used it for Uber and Lyft. And then obviously the oldest Walshe's device was important because of this account from the oldest Walshe about Anna fixing his iPad prior to her leaving.
So you have this conversation with Attorney Minor. About how long do you think the conversation was?
5 or so minutes.
And after the conversation, where did you go?
I went to the Walshe residence.
When you arrived at the Walshe residence, who was there?
Brian Walshe.
Was anyone else home at the time?
No, not that I remember. I didn't see anyone else.
And what happened when you got to the Walshe residence? What can you just tell us what's your interaction with Mr. Walshe when you got there?
Yes, I pulled in, went up to the front door, knocked. I was encountered by Mr. Walshe. I introduced myself. I had not met him previously. He invited me in. I stepped off to the left, which would have been in the kitchen area, dining area, just to my immediate left. I said, I just spoke with Attorney Minor. Did you know that I was coming? He said, yes. I said, I'm here to retrieve these devices.
And what was his demeanor like when you were speaking with him that night on January 6th?
Very cooperative, cordial, helpful.
And so you said that you were there. What devices did you think you were going there to retrieve?
His cell phone and his son's iPad mini.
And so you told him that did you tell him what devices you were looking for when you arrived?
Yes.
And so what happened after you told him about the devices you were looking for?
He went off to my left, past the kitchen into kind of a living room area. There's also a desk in that area, and very quickly came back with the iPad mini that he said was his oldest son's.
And did he produce anything else besides the iPad mini at this point in time?
He gave me his cell phone.
And after you got those two devices, what happens?
He then said that he wanted to go find another device that his kids access. I said, okay. He thought it would be helpful. At that time, he went to my right, which was into kind of an open, I don't know how to describe it, open room where the dog cage kennel was. And there was a flight of steps that went up to another room. He went out of view that way, and shortly thereafter returned with another iPad with a cracked screen.
And did he say anything when he gave you the second iPad?
He just said, Mike.
Okay, I'm going to pause right there. So, your job is to watch Mr. Fanning. Your job is to assess whether or not you think he is telling the truth. So, apparently, he says Mr. Walshe just got a whole bunch of devices and gave it to him. These weren't the ones that were actually on the agreement. So, again, gray space. Who do you believe? Let's continue.
Kids use this. It might be helpful to you.
What did you say after he gave you the second iPad?
We had just confirmed the passwords. He had told me the password to his cell phone, and he confirmed the passwords on the two other devices, as the kids predominantly use those, and I wrote them down.
And so after you received the passwords, what happened as far as your conversation with Mr. Walshe?
I told him we're going to try to return them as soon as possible. I appreciate him cooperating, and I left the residence.
And so once you left the residence, where did you immediately go to?
My vehicle.
And when you got into your vehicle, what did you do with any of the devices?
I put the two iPads on my passenger seat. I had Brian Walsh's phone in my hand. I checked the password that he gave me to unlock it. It would be normal for me in most situations to put the device into airplane mode to preserve data. In this case, I don't recall putting it into airplane mode because if Anna had tried to reach out, the device wouldn't work. I also went into the text app just to see the last communication with Anna Walshe, the time, which really is just like a timestamp. It could say today, yesterday, or it would go back in time with dates. Then I relocked the phone knowing that I had the correct password and put it back on top of the two iPads.
And once you did that, where did you go?
I went back to the command.
Okay. So he unlocks the phone to see if the phone works. Yep. Then he goes into the text messages. Why? Why then? Why there? Do you find that suspicious? Aren't they supposed to wait for the extraction to happen and then they're going to go through and see? Is this procedure? Again, they are trying to look for Anna, right? So one could say, oh, I'm just looking to see if there's been any communication that he has failed to tell us. They're investigating. He gave him his phones. He's allowed to look at the text messages, right? Oh, just putting it out there. I have questions. I have questions. Let's continue.
Post.
And so when you got to the command post, Lieutenant, what did you do as far as handling who'd you give these devices to?
Trooper Connor Keefe.
Why'd you give them to Trooper Connor Keefe?
Trooper Keefe is one of our forensics examiners. So he was there waiting, and I was arranging for him to take them back to our Canton office for download.
Do you have an idea of when you gave these to Trooper Keefe?
It was immediately following coming back from the Walshe residence.
And so, did you give Trooper Keefe any commands at this point in time as far as what to do with these devices?
I gave him the 3 devices kind of stacked up on top of one another with a piece of paper with the passwords. And I told him, you have consent to download and analyze the data of the phone from December 25th until the present.
And did you give him anything else besides those 3 devices and the piece of paper with the passwords?
No.
And on January 6th, did you have any further conversations with Attorney Minor?
I do not recall any conversation with her on the 6th.
So do you know when those devices were returned to Mr. Walsh?
The afternoon, approximately 1:30 on January 7th.
Now, later that afternoon, were any of the troopers assigned to your detective unit dispatched to the area of Swampscott?
We're talking January 7th.
January 7th, yes.
Yes, they were.
Okay. And to be clear, we're talking about Saturday, January 7th. Who was dispatched to that area of Swampscott?
At approximately 4 p.m., I dispatched Trooper Kukowski, Sergeant Panazelis, Trooper Gulbranson, and Trooper Sullivan.
Where did you send Trooper Kukowski?
CVS in Swampscott.
Why did you send him to CVS in Swampscott?
Because Brian Walsh had told Trooper DeChico and Detective Schmidt that he had went there when he visited his mother.
And where did you send the other 3 troopers, Gulbranson, Sullivan, and Pantazelis?
Whole Foods in Swampscott.
Why did you send them to Whole Foods in Swampscott?
Because the defendant said that he had went there when he went up to his mother's residence.
And so why are you sending troopers to these locations that the defendant said he was at?
To confirm if he went there.
And so that was done. Those troopers were dispatched on Saturday, January 7th at approximately what time?
Between 4 and 5 p.m.
And that time frame, when was it that you heard back from Trooper Kukowski about the CVS in Swampscott?
I'd say somewhere in the 6 to 7 p.m. range. I can't recall the exact time.
And what was it Trooper Kukowski able to confirm as far as the defendant entering the CVS in Swampscott?
He was not there.
And was Trooper Kukowski dispatched to another CVS at this point in time?
Yes.
Which one?
I don't recall exactly. That wasn't at my direction. That was something he did on his own, which would be normal for investigators.
And did you receive knowledge from Trooper Kukowski if he had discovered the defendant on video of another CVS to confirm his timeline?
Yes, and he did not see Brian Walsh at the other CVS.
Now, going to Whole Foods, who was sent to Whole Foods?
Sergeant Panazelis and Troopers Sullivan and Gulbranson.
And what were they able to discover as far as confirming the defendant's location at Whole Foods as he relayed to Trooper DeChico?
He did not go there either.
And about what time were they at Whole Foods to discover this?
Somewhere after 5 p.m. on the 7th.
Now, when were you ever notified about the contents of the devices that were given to Trooper Keefe on the 6th?
Around 6 p.m. on the 7th.
And who notified you as far as the contents of any of the devices?
Trooper Nick Guarino.
And who is Trooper Guarino in your detectives unit?
He's also a forensics examiner.
And how did he notify you?
He called me.
And what did he say when he called you?
He said, I found something in the search history, and that's interesting. I said, well, what was it? And it was numerous searches about dismembering a body, how to embalm a body, how to get rid of a body, numerous searches related to that, another search related to divorce.
And so after he said he notified you of that, did he communicate to?
Okay. All right. So, spoiler alert. You just heard Fanning say that Guarino had called him and told him what they found on the devices, which were searches for taking apart a person, divorce, and some other things. So again, when they extracted information from his phone. So the agreement between Lynn Beeland and Tracy Minor said communications. Is internet searches communications? I say no, but again, not a lawyer, so don't exactly know. So again, it's sort of like this is the gray area, right? And they found these things, which led to the next thing, which led to Candy Cane Lane, right? We're going to continue so you can hear exactly their investigative thought process and how they went about finding more things about Brian Walshe. Let's continue.
You and other troopers what he had found.
Yes.
How so?
He sent an email.
And as far as analyzing the iPad mini, what was your understanding as further analyzation of the iPad mini at this point in time?
We were going to stop.
And what was going to be done as far as the iPad mini after stopping?
We were going to,
the data we're talking about.
yes, we had stopped, and we were going to obtain a search warrant to seize that device.
So to seize that device. Now, where?
Okay. So they're stopping. They already started. They found some information on the iPad mini, but they're going to stop because they're going to get a search warrant to go further, right? But between you and me and the fence post, they already downloaded everything. It doesn't take that long to go ahead and download all the data on there and for them to go through and search things, etc. They already did. They just told you that hey, no search warrant. We got approval to go ahead and search, and this is what we found. So this is the crux of what's happening here. Did the police have full authority from the owner of the device, Brian Walshe, and his attorney? Was there a clear agreement as to what they can look at? This is what's at stake. And again, this is very important. So you're hearing their process, you're hearing the process of the accused, and it's great, and it needs to be going over so that you can understand what's the law. Why is there a gray space, and what does the law interpret this as to be? It's very important. Let's continue.
Where did you believe the device was located on the evening of January 7th?
It was back at the home.
And so what was done as far as trying to obtain a search warrant for the home?
We started writing one on the evening of January 7th.
And was one obtained?
Yes.
When was that search warrant executed?
Between 8 and 9 a.m. on January 8th.
Now, were you there when it was executed?
I was.
So when the search warrant was executed, who was home at the Walsh residence?
Brian Walsh, his mother Diane, the 3 children, and their dog.
And after the search warrant was initially served, did you have any further conversations with Attorney Minor?
I did. Once we secured the scene, I called Attorney Minor and notified her that we were executing a search warrant at the Walsh residence. She told me that she was headed there and she'd be there shortly.
And how long after that did it take for her to arrive?
I'd say 15 minutes or so.
And once she arrived, what happened did you have any further contact with Attorney Minor?
We spoke in the driveway. I handed her a copy of the search warrant and I told her we're searching the residence. Do you have a place for the Walsh family to go? Which she replied she did. And we arranged for her and the Walshes to leave to go to Attorney Minor's house in Scituate.
Now, after that interaction with Attorney Minor, did you have any further interaction on Sunday, January 8th with Attorney Minor?
I did.
When was that?
When we went to arrest Brian Walsh.
And where was that?
At her residence.
And what was the contact you had with Attorney Minor at this point in time?
She met us right out front. She actually came out before we got to the door. And I asked where Brian was. She said in the house. I said, we need to go talk to Brian right now. And she said, well, he's not going to say anything. I said, that's fine, but we need to find him right away. We walked right in. Dining room was right off to the left. Brian Walsh was standing there and we placed him under arrest.
Now, Lieutenant, understanding you had the opportunity to have your communications with Trooper Guarino on the evening of Saturday, January 7th. Had you not had the conversations for Trooper Guarino on Saturday, January 7th, what would the State Police Detective Unit been doing to obtain a search warrant for the residence of Mr. Walsh that evening?
Had I not had that conversation with Trooper Guarino?
Yes.
At that point, the information came all at the same time, I would say. But the issue that we were having is regardless of the search history, we were still misled by Brian Walsh. In the information that he gave us, we spent time and resources going up to confirm his information. I think had we not known that information of the searches, we still would have written a search warrant for the house, less physiological fluid and instruments of the crime.
Okay. I'm going to pause there. We have some problems. Because in order to obtain a search warrant, right, you have to have probable cause. What probable cause did they have? Let's just say they didn't have the searches for what we just stated, which was the disembodied parts and divorce, etc., right? What if they didn't have that? If Brian Walsh lied to the police, which they claim that he did, and that he went to CVS and he went to Whole Foods, is that a crime? Lying to the police? No. Is that enough? Is that probable cause to get a search warrant? No. But Fanning is saying, well, he lied to us. And so XYZ equals probable cause to get a search warrant and arrest him. No. They searched the house. Remember, you heard them earlier. They searched the house with consent. Now, they didn't tear it up to really, really look at it. But again, they got information off of the cell phones and off of the iPads to conduct a search warrant, then to conduct an arrest. So again, we're talking about Candyland. One thing leads to another, candy cane lane, right? He's sort of just fluffing it off like, oh, well, eventually we would have figured this out. Sure. Okay. All right, Sherlock Holmes. Tell me how you would have figured out what he was up to if you didn't have his search history and the information off of his devices. Just saying, I have questions. Let's continue.
What information did you have as far as ransom emails at this point in time?
We had received an email, it was on the morning of the 7th, meaning we, Cohasset Police, from a Richard Walker requesting a ransom. And that stating basically that he had Anna Walsh and was requesting a certain amount of money for her to be returned.
And where was the last place Anna Walsh had been seen prior to her disappearance, to your knowledge, on the evening of January 7th?
Inside the home on January 1st.
Your Honor, may I have a moment?
Yes.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Cross-examination.
All right. Larry Tipton is up. And remember, this is pre-trial gathering of information. And the lawyers can ask pretty much anything and everything that kind of goes into what their process was. How did they do this? How did they do that? And again, it's Larry Tipton's job to question, why did they make these choices? And again, he's trying to get these searches kicked out. He's trying to say, listen, fruit of the poisonous tree. They obtained this illegally. They downloaded this stuff they weren't supposed to. Your Honor, this should not come into evidence. And this is what Larry Tipton's job is. Let's see how Fanning responds to Mr. Tipton. Let's continue.
Lieutenant, have you reviewed the transcripts of the interviews of Mr. Walsh conducted by Cohasset Police and Massachusetts State Police on January 4th, January 5th, January 7th?
I would say I've, not directly the transcripts, but I have some understanding of them, sir.
So when you testified here just moments ago that Mr. Walsh, Brian Walsh, told one or more of those people that Anna Walsh had used his phone to contact Lyft or Uber. You remember saying that?
Yes. Yes.
Where is that? Where is that in the interviews that I just described of Mr. Walsh?
I do believe I read it. I could be wrong for sure, but I do believe I read it. But I feel like that at least some type of communication was given to me at that time.
Well, was it a but you're not suggesting it was a communication given to you by Mr. Brian Walsh. You're saying a communication by one of your colleagues or somebody. You're not sure.
Correct. And it could have been one of the child's devices. I'm not sure I testified previously if I specifically just said Brian's phone. But that is what I remember.
And when you testify that based on your conclusion or opinion that Mr. Walsh had misled people with regards to where he was, you're relying on what another trooper reported to you based on his review of what?
Video surveillance and also items that he stated he purchased they had asked about.
And have you looked at those, whatever you're referring to, the videos of, say, CVS and Whole Foods?
No.
And did you, before you relied on that information, did you talk to anybody at CVS or Whole Foods to discuss how their cameras are situated, what they view, what they don't view? Did you conduct anything like that?
Not personally, no.
And you are aware of the fact, aren't you, Lieutenant, that when Mr. Walsh was being asked questions about where he went and where he had been on certain days, that he was being asked those questions at his home, and there was distractions going on during those interviews. You're aware of that, correct?
I wasn't there.
Are you aware of the fact that on the recordings you could hear a dog barking repeatedly?
I didn't hear the recordings, but that would make sense.
And are you aware of the fact that Mr. Walsh specifically told the troopers when he was being, I'm sorry, strike that. Are you aware of the fact that when he was being asked questions on January 4th, he was actually talking and telling them that he was tired and hadn't had sleep and words to that effect?
No.
And in your experience as a state trooper investigating crimes, it's fair to say, isn't it, that when someone is being asked questions about a missing spouse, let's say, the mother of their children, they can be under some stress, correct?
Absolutely.
Now, you also told.
Okay, I'm just going to pause there for a quick second. If you are being questioned by the police and you're being questioned because you have a missing spouse, right? Typically, you want to do anything and everything you can to help them out, to investigate and find. Remember, you don't have to help the police help you find anything. So that's number one. Number two, if you don't, it's suspicious, right? And they're like, "Ooh, why is he not helping?" Thirdly, if you're done, like if he's tired and he's done, then end it. I don't want to talk to you anymore. I'm done. You go do whatever you need to go do. Again, it's suspicious that you're not being cooperative, etc. And the police can, eventually arrest you if you're not being cooperative and they have something to go on as to why you're being suspicious. Again, your attorney gets involved. Your attorney then speaks for you. You don't say anything because you can incriminate yourself. Have your attorney speak for you and have your attorney say, "Okay, we're done here for the day. You can come back tomorrow," or whatever the circumstances are. He could have ended this at any point in time. He didn't. So the police, again, are just doing their jobs.
Told us that you were the one that went out and retrieved devices on January 6th of 2023, correct?
Yes, sir.
And back in January 6th of 2023, you didn't write in the report about that, did you?
I did not.
And then you told us on direct examination today that you remember having a conversation with Attorney Tracy Minor on January 6th, correct?
Yes,
And you didn't write a report about that.
correct.
And what you've done in the last week or so is you've written reports regarding those interactions, correct?
Yes, sir.
And one of the reports that you just wrote a couple of weeks ago, if not a week ago, you dated that the report date is January 6th of 2023, correct?
Yes, when it happened?
No. The title of your report is Interview 2023-112-4-116, Report Date.
All right. Ding, ding, ding. Remember what I said? The Massachusetts police are notorious for writing reports after the fact. And the details that you put in your report aren't going to be the same details that you put in when you first start, right? What you did a year ago, you don't quite remember versus what you know now. And what you know now could be tainted because more information has come to light. And so you're remembering things that may or may not pertain to what was back then, but it's magically together now. So let's see him squirm his way out of this. Again, this is just another thing that bugs me about Massachusetts State Police. They're like, I'll write a report well after when it's time to go to court. I'm going to write a report. Doesn't seem fair, but here we are. Let's see what he has to say about this.
01/06/2023.
Correct.
When you enter those dates on these Massachusetts State Police reports in that particular space, that is supposed to indicate the date the report was written.
It is. I think it's a bit confusing. Sometimes it's the date I'm writing the report. Sometimes it's a newer system that we just had switched over to in the last few years. Sometimes it's the day I write it. Sometimes it's the date of the actual report.
Well, in fact,
But I usually reflect it in my first sentence, the actual time of the event.
like I just said, you've written no less than 3 reports in the last week or so, reciting what you testified.
Yes,
And in 2 of the reports, you put report date, May 7th, 2025, right?
right.
And in the other report, you put the date of May 15th, 2025.
Correct.
So whether the system changed over the years, the fact is the system has been the same since you started drafting these reports years later about what you recall happened and didn't happen back on January 6th, correct?
Yes,
And one of the things you just told us that when you went to the house on January 6th, that at some point Mr. Walshe then went up and got another iPad, a second iPad, correct?
yes,
And he told us today on direct examination that he said something to the effect of, my son uses this, maybe it'll be helpful, correct?
yes.
In the report that you just wrote in the last week or so, you didn't include anything in such a statement, did you?
I'm not sure.
Ding, 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 ding. Remember, I told you words matter, right? Where did this second iPad come from? Did Brian actually say, here, this might help you? Or is it just Fanning's imagination or his, I don't know, lack of caring that, oh, here it is. How did this come to play? It's important because, again, it's could be evidence of a crime. And whether you believe Walshe did or did not do whatever he did, this is important in the criminal justice process because if they obtained devices illegally, it shouldn't come into evidence, right? Fruit of the poison tree, can't have it, right? If he was coerced into giving it, it matters. It shouldn't be used against you in your criminal trial. And so that's why it's important. Where did this come from? How did this come to be? And a police officer's recollection shouldn't be taken as gospel, especially since he didn't write a report until a year or 2 after the incident. That's not your recollection and what is an accurate depiction of what happened during the time. And you're saying one thing and you wrote something else. It's just not fair. It's not right. But let's continue on. Let's see what he has to say.
May I approach you?
Yes.
Can I just see which one you're referring to? They can knock that out.
Okay.
Got it. You wanna go up to the other ones? Make sure I have it. Okay, you got it. Thank you.
Then I'm just going to show you your report that just ask you questions about. It has a date on it, January 6th. In fact, you want page 2.
No, this is good, sir. Got it.
That's the report where you talk about going to the house and Mr. Walshe retrieving the second item, correct?
Yes,
And nowhere in that report does it say anything about him telling you, my son used this, or words to that effect, that maybe it'll be helpful.
correct.
And it is fair to say, isn't it, that when you went over to the house to pick up the devices, you had been told that you were to pick up 2 devices, correct?
Yes,
One cell phone and one iPad.
yes,
And that was pursuant to the agreement that was reached between Assistant District Attorney Lynn Beelan and Attorney Tracy Minor, correct?
About 2 devices?
Yes.
I was told to get 2 devices. I'm not sure if the agreement, as I had read it, specifically stated 2 devices.
When you say that agreement, what are you referring to specifically? A written agreement?
The email
Okay.
between Attorney Minor and Attorney Veland.
So as you sit here today, you don't even have a recollection of whether that email that's referred to as the agreement only references Brian Walsh's cell phone and the iPad belonging to the 6-year-old.
As I remember, correct. As I remember it, we talked about what data was going to be extracted and what time frame.
No, but I'm asking you specifically about the devices you had been told to go pick up. You were told to go pick up 1 cell phone and 1 iPad.
That was my communication, yes.
And you got that communication from Sergeant Bukhenik.
Sergeant Bukhenik, yes, sir.
You didn't talk to Assistant District Attorney Lynn Beeman, did you? Regarding the agreement and what you were to pick up.
I do not recall specifically, but she was at the command post that night. I just don't recall a specific conversation with her about it.
And when you talked to Attorney Tracy Minor on January 6th, before you retrieved the items, you didn't talk to her about picking up extra items or anything of the sort. You just were talking about 1 cell phone and 1 iPad.
Correct.
And it's fair to say, isn't it, that the state of the knowledge of the investigation that you possess on January 7th of 2023, you had no information whatsoever that the iPad that was purportedly belonging to the 6-year-old had been used in any way to go from one location to another or anything like that, correct?
Just give me a second. I'm trying to process the question here. On January 7th, can you ask it again, sir? I'm sorry.
Restate the question,
It was-
because I'm not
yeah.
following it. If I can't follow it,
Sorry about
it's
that.
having evidentiary value to me. So why don't we just try that again?
I'll be glad to. I don't think I can follow. My question to you, is it based on what you had learned thus far up to January 7th? You had no knowledge that the iPad that you went to pick up on January 6th had been in fact used by Anna Walsh. Had you?
Are we talking about the iPad mini or the cracked iPad?
The iPad one?
Well, we did have information from the oldest Walsh that she had manipulated that device.
Right, but you didn't have any other information other than, quote, the manipulation of the device.
At what time are we talking? In the morning of January 7th? Previous to Trooper Guarino calling me?
Let's start there. Yes. Yes.
No, I did not. No.
And you certainly didn't have any reason to believe that an iPad belonging to a 6-year-old would contain so-called location data or search history or anything like that, did you?
Location data, yes, it could include location data. There was no thought in my mind about search history at that time.
And you say it could have had location data in it, but you didn't have any specific information about any specific location data that might be in a 6-year-old child's iPad, did you?
No.
And you didn't have any information conveyed to you by anyone about another iPad described as a cracked iPad that you retrieved on January 6th also, correct?
Correct.
In fact, when you went there, you weren't even expecting to pick up an iPad, a second iPad, were you?
Correct.
And it's fair to say, isn't it, that the Mass State Police utilizes body cams when they conduct searches, correct?
Yes,
You did so in this case, didn't you?
correct. So we use them until we secure the home, and then we usually deactivate them.
And were you wearing a body cam on January 6th when you went to the house to pick up the items?
No,
And you are familiar with Massachusetts State Police consent to search forms, correct?
yes,
And you didn't use one or try to use one or attempt to fill one out before you took the items, the devices, for Mr. Walsh that day on January 6th, did you?
no, we were working together cooperatively to find Anna Walsh, and I was happy that we were working together.
No, but I understand your answer, but you didn't use a consent to search form.
There was already an agreement, so I think it wouldn't have made sense after just talking to Attorney Minor, talking to Sergeant Bukhenik, an agreement in writing to then show up with a consent form. I think Attorney Minor would have had a problem with that.
Well,
We don't need no stinking consent forms. We already have an agreement. It's okay. Just it's okay. Just let it slide. Well, let's continue. I'm being goofy.
you think that, but my question is simple. You used those consent to search forms. You did not use one in this case.
That's correct.
And those consent to search forms, without belaboring the point, they're used to make sure that what you do, when it's looked at later on, that there's evidence that there was in fact a voluntary consent, and that whatever parameters of any search that was going to be conducted would be followed, and that the person giving consent understood that.
Yes.
That's all I have. Thank you, Judge.
Redirect.
Thank you, Your Honor. Lieutenant, you were asked a question about one of your police reports concerning whether or not you had mentioned that the son might have used the iPad for the police report.
Yes.
Do you have a memory of that paragraph where you mentioned that you were asked about as far as the son using the iPad?
Guys are confusing me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're right there with you.
Do I have a memory of the paragraph? Is the one I just read?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember what you mentioned as far as the son using the iPad in that report? Would the report help you out?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
I'm showing you.
Okay. Again, let's go back to the report. I have an issue. And the issue is that if you're not writing the report at the time of the incident and doing to the best fair and accurate depiction of what you observed, etc., and that's what your report is supposed to be, right? And if you're writing it a year or two after the fact, again, you have your facts and your recollection, and then you're tainted by your fellow officers, especially like if you're coming to go and testify, right? It's not uncommon for them to review the reports and possibly the reports of others to get an indication of, what they're going to say on the stand. And rightfully so, because how are you supposed to remember what happened a year ago? And you're supposed to be on the stand to recall what transpired, right? That's why you write the report then versus now. And so I just have a problem with this report and that it's tainted. Is that a make or break of anything? I don't think so. But again, it's the impropriety of it. It's just gives me the icks. And if it gives me the icks, it probably gives you the icks. Let's continue.
The report, which has a number of 2003-112-4/116. I want you to take a look at the third paragraph, specifically the second sentence. Go to the third.
Got it.
All right, Lieutenant, did you write the report whether or not the son used the iPad?
I did.
Nothing further wrong.
Any recall? The witness may step down.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, I can call my witness.
You may.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Commonwealth would call Connor Keefe.
All right, next up is Connor Keefe. What did Mr. Keefe do in reference to the Brian Walshe case? Let's listen.
You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you shall provide in the matter now and hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, under the pains and penalties of perjury. Yes. Please have a seat. And just make sure to keep your voice up. Thank you.
You may
Thank you, Your Honor.
proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sir, could you please state your name and spell your last name for the record?
Connor Keefe, Keefe.
And sir, where do you work?
I work for the Massachusetts State Police.
And how long have you been with Massachusetts State Police?
Almost 8 years.
What is your current rank?
Trooper.
Within the state police, do you work for a certain unit?
Yes.
What unit?
Currently assigned to the Norfolk District Attorney's Office.
And do you have any special responsibilities within that unit?
Yes.
What are those?
Digital forensic examiner.
You like how they say Norfolk? It's lovely Boston accent. It's actually Norfolk, not FORK like fork. I believe. I'll look it up, but I believe it's got an L, not an R. Anyways, let's continue.
And cell phone record analyst.
And have you received any training concerning the examination of cell phone or digital devices?
Yes.
Can you tell us kind of briefly what that training has been?
Sure. I have numerous trainings from Cellbrite, which is a cell phone forensics company. Also through Burla, which is a motor vehicle forensic company. I have online and hands-on training through Magnet, and I have cell phone record analysis training from LexisNexis and the FBI CAS team.
Are you familiar with a company called Keefe?
Yes.
And have you received any trainings from them?
Yes.
All of these trainings that you mentioned, do they carry certifications?
Yes.
What does it take to get the certifications?
Majority of the time, it's an in-person 40-hour training.
And so, in addition, have you had to take tests in these different disciplines as far as Cellbrite and Keefe?
Yes.
Did you pass those tests?
Yes.
Now, I'd like to ask you some questions as far as your involvement in the disappearance of Anna Walshe.
Yes.
When did you first become involved?
January 5th, 2023.
And how did you become involved?
I was requested by my supervisors to assist with analyzing exigent cell phone records from Verizon.
I'm sorry, was that exigent cell phone records?
Correct.
Okay. And whose number did you believe you were examining?
I believe the number was associated with Anna Walshe.
And when was the last time that number connected with the network?
It was January 2nd, 3:14 a.m.
And do you know where that number connected with the network as far as the tower?
It was in the area of 516 Chief Justice Cushing Highway, Cohasset, Massachusetts.
When were you doing this on January 5th?
Late in the evening.
And so now I want to ask you about January 6th. On January 6th, Friday, when did you arrive in Cohasset, if you remember?
Around 8:30 p.m.
And where were you stationed in Cohasset that day?
During the day, sir?
Yes, sir.
At the CP?
And the CP, that's the command post?
Correct.
All right. Now, did anyone ever give you any digital devices that day?
Yes.
Who gave you digital devices?
Lieutenant John Fanning.
What did he give you as far as devices?
He gave me 3 mobile devices.
And what, you say 3 mobile devices. Can you describe them? Can you tell us what they were?
Yes. One was an iPhone 13 mini, one was an iPad 6 mini, and one was an iPad 6.
And about what time do you think you got these devices from Lieutenant Fanning?
Sometime after 8:30 p.m.
And where did you go once you got these devices?
I went to the digital forensics lab at the Norfolk District Attorney's Office in Canton, Massachusetts.
And so you went from Cohasset to Canton at this point in time.
Correct.
And so we're talking about Friday night, January 6th.
Yes.
When you got to the lab, was there anyone else there from your unit to help you?
Yes.
Who was that?
Trooper Nicholas Guarino.
So what was your understanding of what you were allowed to do with these 3 devices?
I was told that Brian Walshe and his attorney, Tracy Miner, provided consent to extract and analyze these 3 devices from December 25th, 2022 through January 6th, 2023.
I feel like when we're listening to all of this, it's like telephone game, right? When you were a kid, you would say a word or a phrase in the telephone, and like you would whisper it into the person's ear, and then that person needed to tell the next person. And then when you got to the end, it was nothing of what the initial person had said, right? And again, what are the policies and procedures in reference to Massachusetts State Police? Oh, hey, you heard that this iPad was manipulated by Anna from the Cohasset police person, that Brian said this, or that the kid said this, or that Yuri Bukhenik said this, and then told John Fanning, and Fanning told this person, and so on and so on. I mean, okay, so Connor Keefe is being told what they can do via this discussion. Why? And again, I'm pausing too soon. Maybe I'm pausing too soon. Maybe at some point in time they'll clarify this. But why is the person who's doing the extraction does not, again, the consent form, we don't need no stinking consent forms, but where is the agreement? And why doesn't the person who's doing the extraction have the agreement? Why doesn't he have the agreement that says exactly what was said versus just, I'm going to take you at your word. Here's what we go. This is how we do things in Massachusetts at the Massachusetts State Police. We just take everybody's word for it and we just go for it. Again, gray areas. I'm thinking after this, and I'm thinking after John O'Keefe's case, they are buttoning down their procedures. But let's continue.
And so how did you begin to do that extraction on these devices?
The first device I extracted was the iPhone 13 mini.
Okay, and so walk me through that. What did you do to extract data from the iPhone 13 mini?
Sure. So in the digital forensics lab, used Keefe, which is a forensic machine. We use specialized forensic hardware and software. You will have these Keefe software program running on a forensic computer. You will plug the device into the Keefe hardware machine, and then the extraction process will begin.
And why didn't you just do all 3 at once?
We are limited to one Keefe forensic machine in the lab.
And how long does it take for Keefe to get the data from the device?
Could be hours.
That night, do you know when you began the extraction from the iPhone 13 mini?
Approximately 9:30 p.m.
And do you know when that extraction was completed?
I believe 12:28 a.m. on January 7th.
Okay, so that took approximately 3 hours-ish?
Yes, sir.
After that data was extracted from that device, the iPhone 13 mini, what did you do next?
The next device I performed the forensic extraction on was the iPad 6 mini.
The iPad 6 mini. And did you wait until that was completed?
No.
What did you do?
I went home.
Okay. When was the data finally extracted from that device, if you remember?
I recall about 1:30 a.m. on
Okay.
the 7th.
And you weren't there when it was completed?
No, sir.
When did you return back to the digital forensics lab in Canton to continue your work?
Approximately 10:30 a.m. on the 7th.
Was Trooper
Sorry, we had to pause for a few seconds here for a minor break. We're going to go and we're just going to scoot back just a little bit, just in case we missed anything. So here we go.
Specialized forensic hardware and software. You will have these great key software program running on a forensic computer. You will plug the device into the great key hardware machine, and then the extraction process will begin.
And why didn't you just do all three at once?
We are limited to one great key forensic machine in the lab.
And how long does it take for Gray Key to get the data from the device?
Could be hours.
That night, do you know when you began? The extraction from the iPhone 13 mini?
Approximately 9:30 p.m.
And do you know when that extraction was completed?
I believe 12:28 a.m. on January 7th.
Okay, so that took approximately 3 hours-ish?
Yes, sir.
After that data was extracted from that device, the iPhone 13 mini, what did you do next?
The next device I performed the forensic extraction on was the iPad 6 mini.
The iPad 6 mini. And did you wait until that was completed?
No,
What did you do?
I went home.
Okay. When was the data finally extracted from that device, if you remember?
I recall about 1:30 a.m. on
Okay.
the 7th.
And you weren't there when it was completed?
No, sir.
When did you return back to the digital forensics lab in Canton to continue your work?
Approximately 10:30 a.m. on the 7th.
Was Trooper Guarino with you at this point in time?
No, he was not.
What did you do next?
Next, I conducted the extraction on the iPad 6.
And when did you begin that?
About 10:50 a.m.
And when was that extraction completed?
Just before 11:30 a.m.
Now, once the data has been extracted from the three devices, what do you do with the data?
All the data has to be, so once the data is extracted, it is placed on the forensic server from the Gray Key software.
So how long does it take to get from the Gray Key software into the server?
Again, it could take hours depending on how large the extraction is, how much data there is.
And is this one at a time, or can you do all three at once?
We tend to do one at a time.
When did Trooper Guarino arrive on January 7th, that Saturday?
About 3 p.m.
And so did you have any difficulties getting the data from Gray Key into the server?
No.
All right, so the data's in the server. Now what do you do with the data?
In order to read the data, we use a program called Cellbrite Physical Analyzer.
And so how long does it take to get the data from the server to be read by the Cellbrite program?
Again, it could take hours.
And so that day, when were you finally able to start looking at data from any of the devices?
Approximately 5 p.m. on January 7th.
When Gray Key completes extracting data from a device, what is created from Gray Key as far as a report?
There is a Gray Key progress report.
And did Gray Key create progress reports for these devices?
Yes.
And have you reviewed those progress reports prior to today?
Yes.
And are they accurate to your understanding of how Gray Key works and what the device did as far as pulling the data?
Yes.
Your Honor, I apologize, but I think you have my only undoctored copies of the 3 Gray Key reports in the binder, and I was going to seek to mark those as the next exhibits. But if there's no objection from counsel, I think we can just move right along. So,
Okay, we'll move along then.
thank you, Your Honor. I'd ask that those next three reports from Gray Keefe be marked as the next three exhibits. And I lost my chart, but I believe that that would put us at,
16, 17.
thank you, Ms. Borges.
All right, so they're in evidence as 16, 17, and 18. And at some point, I know soon, not today, soon, like tomorrow morning,
Yes,
you're going to have a conversion chart for me.
you are right, Your Honor. We will do that.
All right.
Thank you. And I apologize for the confusion. What device did you have the opportunity to review? What data from what device did you have the opportunity to review?
The iPhone 13 mini.
Where were you reviewing this data from the iPhone 13 mini at the office in Candy?
I was on the first floor in the forensic lab.
Where was Trooper Guarino at this point in time?
He was on the second floor in the main office area.
And did one of you start before the other, or was it around the same time?
It was around the same time.
What device's data was he reviewing that night?
The iPad 6 mini.
Now, what did you notice when reviewing the iPhone 13 mini as far as the device being unlocked between January 1st and 2nd?
I noticed there were 4 unlocks between that time frame.
When you're looking at the Celebrate program, can you just describe for us what does the Celebrate reader look like when you're looking at it?
So Celebrate Physical Analyzer, it's interactive. So it parses the data out into a readable format. It parses it out into calls, contacts, messages, web history, locations, stuff of that nature.
And so what part of the Celebrate program were you looking at as far as analyzing the data?
I went to the timeline view.
All right, what's the timeline view show you?
Timeline view gives you the ability, it shows you all device activity from the whole device.
And so what did you do as far as confining the amount, the time in the timeline that you're looking at?
I condensed the timeline down to January 25th, 2022 to January 6th, 2023.
And so
January 26th? January 6th.
January 6th, December 25th, 2022 to January 6th, 2023.
Got it.
Yes, Your Honor.
And so why didn't you go to December 24th of 2022?
That was outside the consent agreement.
And so when you're looking at this timeline function and you confine it to that area, what access do you have to data before the 25th of December?
None.
So again, you're looking at the timeline feature. And why do you choose to look at the timeline feature?
Because that will narrow down or condense the amount of data in which I am looking at.
Now, while you were looking at the timeline for the iPhone 13 mini that night, did anyone interrupt you?
Yes,
Who?
Trooper David Chico.
And what did Trooper DeChico ask of you?
Trooper DeChico informed me that he conducted an interview earlier in the day on January 7th, and Brian Walshe stated on that on January 2nd, the only place he went to was Press Juice Bar in Norwell, Massachusetts.
And so after hearing that from Trooper DeChico, was there anything, did he ask you to do anything?
He asked me to confirm or corroborate if there was any location data associated with that.
So this is on,
Oh boy. Okay. So Connor Keefe is asked by DeChico whether or not Walshe went to the juice bar. How do they find that? They have to go through his location data, right? Is that part of the consent search? Is that considered communications? You be the judge. Let's continue.
January 7th, you're looking at the timeline data and you're talking to Trooper Chico.
Yes.
And what do you discover as far as location data on January 7th?
So prior to that, after Trooper Chico told me, through the timeline application within Cellbrite, I filtered out all data but native location data within January 1st to January 6th.
Okay.
And from then, I started my analysis for January 2nd.
What is native location data in cell phone analysis?
Native location data is embedded in the Apple iOS operating system. It can come from a number of different things: Bluetooth, satellites, GPS, Wi-Fi, a number of different things.
And how is the device?
I'm going to pause there for a second. Remember how I told you your cell phone's tell on you, right? All of those things that he just said, Bluetooth location, when you turn on and off your phone, where's your phone located, etc., tells on you. Anytime your phone connects to something else, like your phone will connect to your earphones if you have Bluetooth. It'll connect to a speaker. It'll connect to a microphone. It connects to your television. Anytime you got Bluetooth, it connects. My phone will connect to my car. My phone connects to my computer, even though I don't want it to. You just never know how your information is being shared between devices. Not telling you how to crime better, just telling you common sense information. Let's continue.
Doing that.
The device constantly communicates with different technologies.
Now, you've confined the location data, the native location data from January 1 to January 6th, and you're looking at what time frame now?
The whole time frame.
And did you have any further conversation with Trooper Chico about what you're seeing on January 2nd?
Yes.
What did you say?
Approximately 4:15 p.m., January 2nd, 2023, the device is in the area of Home Depot in Rockland, Massachusetts.
Now, do you talk any further with Trooper Chico at this point in the evening?
Not that I recall.
Did you have any conversations after that with Trooper Guarino?
Yes.
And when was it that Trooper Guarino talked to you that night?
Approximately 6:30 p.m.
And what was it that Trooper Guarino approached you about?
He had found some concerning searches on the device that he was analyzing.
And he was looking at the iPad Mini 6?
Correct.
The one without the crack screen?
Yes.
Okay. And what was it that now he tells you this, do you do anything to look at the data that he's talking to you about?
No.
Okay, so what did he tell you about?
He told me there was a number of concerning searches that occurred on the iPad.
So what was done as far as any further searching of the iPad 6 Mini?
To my knowledge, Trooper Guarino, he had stopped his analysis and informed the supervisors.
Now, with what you were looking at, which was the iPhone 13, did you stop your analysis as far as the work you were doing on the iPhone 13?
No.
So on the iPhone 13, did you have the opportunity to do any further analysis as far as native location data on that device?
Yes.
When did you do that?
January 8th.
And what were you analyzing as far as native location data for the iPhone 13 device on January 8th?
January 1st through January 6th.
And in reviewing that data, did you notify any troopers to go anywhere?
Yes.
Who did you call?
I called Lieutenant Fanning, I believe.
Okay. And where did you want to send troopers to?
The Claremont Apartments in Abington, the Point Apartment Complex in Abington, and Chatham West in Brockton, Massachusetts.
And why did you want to send troopers to those locations on January 8th?
Because at that time, it was still a critical incident. And Anna Walshe was still missing at that time. And we wanted to try and locate her.
And why those apartment complexes?
Put her on to see if she might have went there or...
Well, how do you know, like, is that is the phone telling you that it's at those locations? Why are those locations significant to you? How do you know to go to those how do you know to send troopers to those locations?
In order to collect surveillance, see if anyone had seen her or.
Sure, I understand that's the why. I guess the question is the how. So what is it that you saw in the phone that said go there?
GPS points or native location points within those different areas.
Okay. I don't know why Law and Crime cut out the rest of his testimony. I don't know, maybe they didn't feel it was important. It's very important, but as you see right there and there, he got the data location for these apartment complexes. He called Fanning. Fanning then sent out troopers to those locations. Again, they went to those locations and obviously they didn't find Anna, but in one of the locations, they found some of Anna's possessions in the dumpster. Her phone, sorry, not her phone, her purse, some jewelry items of hers, I think some shoes, and they found like a hacksaw. Again, I don't know the specifics, but that's kind of what I think that they found. Next is Guarino. He's up to testify what he has discovered. So we are where we are. We can't go back. There's no other footage. So we're just going to continue on. But all of this will come out in his trial whenever that happens. So let's continue.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you shall provide in the matter now and herein shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God under the pains and penalties of perjury?
I do.
Please have a seat. Just make sure to sit nice and close that microphone.
Also, it's important to note that unfortunately, we don't have the cross-examination of Larry Tipton to Connor Keefe. Why? Again, I don't know. It would have been very, very important to hear that and see what and how Larry Tipton poked holes in the who, what, where, when, how, and why as to why Connor Keefe did the things that he did. But here we are. So let's continue on.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Could you please state your name and spell your last name for the record?
Yes, Nicholas Guarino, Guarino.
And sir, where do you work?
For the Massachusetts State Police at the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office.
How long have you been with the Massachusetts State Police?
About 10 years now.
And how long have you been attached to the Norfolk District Attorney's Office?
November 2019, so about 5 years, 6.
And I take it that your current rank is trooper then?
Yes, it is.
Within that unit attached to the District Attorney's Office, do you have any specific responsibilities?
Yes.
What are those, sir?
I'm a forensics investigator doing cell phone and computer forensics and also a sexual assault investigator.
And what training have you had as far as digital forensics? Just kind of a brief overview.
Numerous trainings through Cellbrite, Magnet Axiom, Berlin Motor Vehicle Forensics, Great Key training, all that.
Including Cellbrite?
Yes, sir.
Now, when did you become involved into the investigation concerning the disappearance of Anna Walshe?
The night of January 6, 2023.
And you say the night, so that would have been Friday night, January 26th, January 6th of 2023?
Yes, that's correct.
And where did you go to begin your work into this case?
To the Norfolk County DA's office.
And within the Norfolk County DA's office, is there a specific place where you were able to do your work?
Yes, that's correct.
Can you tell me about where is that located?
Yeah, so on the first floor, we have a digital forensics lab
Yes, sir.
where we have specialized hardware and software computer systems to extract digital devices.
And who did you meet there that night when you were working on this matter?
Trooper Connor Keefe.
And what did the two of you do that evening as far as working on this matter?
Yeah, so we were provided 3 devices to be extracted and examined at some point.
And that night, about what time do you think you left the district attorney's office?
It would have been 12:45 on, technically it would have been the 7th of January.
And had you finished downloading all the devices?
No.
And forgive me, I just want to make sure I get this right.
Mhm.
What are you doing with the devices on the 6th?
So each device has to be plugged into whatever we're using to extract the software, the data. So for this one, we use Key for the devices.
Okay. And so had you completed all the devices that night?
No, the first had been completed, and then the second one had started. And once we knew that it was pulling the information correctly, I left for the night.
And when did you return to work on this matter?
This would have been January 7th. I got to the office probably around 2:45, 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
And when you got to the office, sir, what was the status as far as the devices having the data pulled from them?
The third device had been pulled, I believe, that morning, and they had been returned prior to my arrival to the office.
So the devices weren't there at this point in time?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So what do you do now that the data's been pulled from the devices?
So they have to be downloaded from Key, and then once downloaded, they go onto our server. Once there, we have to open them in either Cellbrite or Magnet Axiom to view the information from the devices.
Okay. And so that day, what program did you, well, so when you got there at, say, 3 o'clock, what step in the process are you as far as analyzing the data?
I have to download it from the server from Key, and then from the server, from the DA's office server, we have to open it into Cellbrite or, like I said, Axiom, to have that data viewable. That's what the programs make that data viewable and readable.
Okay. And so which program did you use to view the data of the devices on January 7th?
I only looked at one device. It was the iPad Mini 6. I used Cellbrite.
And were there any parameters on what you were allowed to look at as far as the iPad Mini?
Yes, there was a date range that was given to us for December 25th, 2022 to what would have been the 6th when we extracted the information.
And when did you start looking at the data from the iPad Mini?
It would take about an hour or so to download the information from Key, and then another couple hours to open it. So it was probably closer to 5 o'clock that afternoon or evening.
And to be specific, there were 2 iPads that were turned over. This is an iPad without a cracked screen, and it's an iPad Mini 6. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
So where were you in the office when you were looking at this data from the iPad Mini 6?
The second floor forensic computer by my desk.
And where is Trooper Keefe in relation to you when you're doing this?
He had gone downstairs to the other forensic computer down in the digital forensics lab.
And what did you do as far as beginning your search or analysis of this data?
Once it opened in Cellbrite?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So once it opened in Cellbrite, would have looked at the timeline view. So I loaded timeline and filtered by the date range that was given.
Now, why do you use the timeline view?
Multiple reasons. It's the easiest way to pare down the data by date range, and it gives a comprehensive list of how the devices interacted from the 25th to the 6th, as told.
And what did you begin to notice while you were going through this data and the timeline range?
So it has every device interaction, what's been done with it. Started seeing searches on the 27th of December for best places to get divorced, worst places to get divorced, best states for divorce.
And after the 27th, did you notice anything further that caught your attention when you were analyzing the data for this device?
Yes. The morning of the 1st, approximately about 4:55 a.m., began seeing searches of how to dispose of a body.
And how, after starting to see these searches, what did you do?
So I went through the information, the data, probably up to about the second, and I saw numerous searches about body disposal, removal of smell, cohesive dump, cadaver dogs at the dump, and I contacted, I went downstairs and contacted Trooper Keefe to tell him what I had found search-wise.
Okay. And after speaking with Trooper Keefe, what did you do?
I contacted Detective Lieutenant Tully and advised him of the search items I found.
Who is Detective Lieutenant?
Ding, ding, ding. Guess who entered the chat? Detective Brian Tully. Oh boy. Yep. He is a key person in the Karen Reed case. He's also a key person in conducting all of the stuff in reference to Aiden Carney. Let's continue.
Tully in relation to your unit, the state police.
He was in charge of the unit at the time.
And who was the executive officer?
Trooper John Fanning.
And,
Sorry, Lieutenant John Fanning.
Lieutenant John Fanning. And so you call Detective Lieutenant Tully. And what do you decide to do as far as your analysis of the data at this point in time after speaking with Detective Lieutenant Tully?
Yeah, so I took that information from the searches. I created a PDF and emailed it out and stopped looking at the data on the iPad mini after that.
Okay. And you said you emailed it out?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I approach?
May.
Thank you, Your Honor. Halfway there, sorry. Trooper, do you recognize that email I just handed to you?
Yes.
Is that the email that you sent out to the members of the detective unit that night after seeing the data?
Yes, that is correct.
And what time did that email go out?
6:25 p.m.
On what day, sir?
Sorry, January 7th, 2023.
Thank you. Your Honor, this has already been marked as an exhibit within the book. And I believe I have that number right here for you, Your Honor. It is Exhibit 17.
Can I ask a question for clarification? It's Exhibit 17.
Yes, Your Honor.
At some point in time in the pleadings, I believe, I saw what I thought at the time was, based on what I knew of the evidence, what I thought was an incorrect date with regard to the searches of, call them the best place to get divorced. I believe in some of the pleadings, I think it was the defense's pleadings, I'm not sure, it could be the prosecution's pleadings, that the date of that is listed in January. And that I remember reading it and thinking that's not consistent with what I thought the state of the evidence is. This witness has just testified that it was on, he started seeing searches on the 27th of December of 2022, which is correct. Is there any dispute about this?
No, and I would just like to say that it wasn't my mistake because we didn't discuss divorce stuff, so I'm happy to say that I didn't make a mistake.
It was a, well, now that you got me curious, it was in a list of, I thought it actually was in the defense's paper, just so that if you,
Judge, I don't mean to interrupt, but if you're referring to one of our exhibits, that was the exhibit produced at the grand jury by one Michael Proctor. So if there's
it's actually, I'm not referring to that, counsel. I'm referring to page 3 of your memorandum in support of your motion to suppress the search warrants. And on that, it says, A, best state to divorce for a man, 1/27/23 at 9:54:13 p.m.
Yeah,
So I
Your Honor, that was mine, and that must have been a
All right.
clerical error.
I'm just trying to get the accurate data.
Your Honor, I think I can help counsel.
Oh, thank you.
And because it is a typographical error in one of the search warrants.
That's fine, just,
And I believe that that's how counsel got it. And so I see where it comes from. It's from a typographical error within one of the warrants. You picked up on it quicker than we did.
well, because the data is new to me and it's old to you, so you gloss over it, which is totally normal.
Oh,
I don't know anything about this case other than what you teach me.
Your Honor, I apologize. On page 3, that was a cut and paste from the warrant, just to show the court exactly what was put in. But we agree it's
I
12/27.
totally understand all of that. I just wanted to make sure that I have the right information.
Oh boy, you are not going to put one over Judge Vernier. She is, man, she's on top of it. So she's calling out people. Again, if this isn't in front of the jury, if this was in front of the jury, she would have a conniption fit. They would go to sidebar or whatever, and they would figure it out. But this is why you have like pretrial conferences. This is why you have motions back and forth to weed out all of these little clerical errors. But noted, it's in the search warrant. Search warrant was written up incorrectly. This is another problem within the Massachusetts State Police. And it's possible, I heard Proctor's name. Proctor's synonymous with writing up search warrants that has inaccurate information. And everybody just sort of glosses it over and be like, that's okay. And it can add up. I'm not saying Proctor did that. I don't know who search warrant this is. I'm sure down the line we'll figure it out. Whether or not it is or it isn't important is another factor for another day. But, again, fruit of the poisonous tree. We'll continue.
And Your Honor, we all agree it's 12/27.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So you said it was we're looking at number 17,
Yes, Your Honor.
and for some reason I can't find that. Oh, here it is. All right, so this email says something different than what we just discussed, but I guess the underlying records will tell the dates, whether it was the 27th or the 28th. Exhibit 17, let's see. All right, sorry to interrupt. Are you done with this witness?
Oh, no, I have a few more questions, Your Honor.
All right, you go right ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I approach the order of counsel?
Yes.
Thank you. Trooper, I'm showing you a Celebrate document. And for the record, it's marked as Exhibit 18 in the binder, Your Honor. Trooper, do you recognize the Celebrate document?
Yes.
What is the Celebrate document?
This is the searches. This is the web history search, web history from the Apple iPad Mini.
And so this is what you're alerting the other troopers to in your email?
Yes, this is
Sorry, bless you.
Thank you.
So,
Commonwealth, what exhibit? Because it's not on the list. Is this
18?
18,
so it's a new exhibit?
it was in everything that we have already attached.
Okay.
So, Trooper, you sent this email out, you had a conversation with your unit commander. What do you decide to do as far as further analysis of the data from the iPad 6 mini?
again, due to the searches and speaking with my commander, I stopped looking at the data.
And what was your next steps as far as working on, what was your next decision on what you wanted to do as far as any further analysis on this, or to get your hands on this device?
We needed to work in the search warrant for the home, the devices were there to get them again and re-image them, post a search warrant for those for the devices that we get.
So you said a search warrant for the home. Were you present for a search warrant of the Walshe home in Cohasset?
Yes, I was.
And when was that, sir?
Sunday, January 8th in the morning.
And what was seized from the home as far as devices that morning?
There was 3 MacBooks, the iPhone 13 mini, the iPad 6 mini, the iPad 6 with the cracked screen, another iPad that I don't remember the exact model number of, and an iPhone SE.
Your Honor, may I just have one moment? And I neglected to ask you, and just one last question. On that report I just showed you, was that in UTC time?
The web history search?
Yes, sir.
Yes, that's correct.
And so what would need to be done, what do you need to do to UTC time to understand what time that search would be conducted in the East Coast in, say, January 2023?
Due to daylight savings, it would be -5 hours to the time that's listed.
Thank you. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Cross example.
Why did you stop?
What's that, sir?
Why did you stop?
The searches, the data. To me, the searches that I saw looked like something more than a missing person.
You told us just now in direct examination that you spent about an hour to transfer the extracted data, correct? Once it's off the great key?
Yes, that's correct. It has to download from their server.
And then it took about 2 hours just to upload it and to celebrate physical analyze?
Yeah, give or take, sir.
And then you started your analysis about 5 p.m.
Approximately, yes.
And it's fair to say that then it's about an hour later, after you've been looking at the data, that's when you began to see these search histories that caused you some concern.
That's correct, sir.
And then it wasn't until about 20 or 30 minutes later, based on that email that's been admitted, that you then stopped and emailed.
I had stopped prior, but I had to export the information, that web stuff, so that takes time, and then put it into the email.
So it's fair to say then that you spent about an hour from 5 to say approximately 6, approximately 5 to approximately 6, looking at the data.
Yes, that's correct.
And you spent about an hour looking at, for instance, the search history data.
It was in the timeline, yes.
Yes, and so it took you an hour to scroll through and look at that data before you even came upon these suspicious searches.
Yes, that's correct.
So it wasn't that when you opened up the timeline feature and then put in the time parameters that suddenly these suspicious search histories popped up and you looked at them and recognized them as, in your opinion, suspicious. You had to scroll through hundreds of search history data before you even got to it, correct?
Yes. If there was numerous bits of information in that data, so it's everything that was on the device, how it was utilized. So I believe it was like 190,000 different entries of data.
And you would agree with me, wouldn't you, Trooper Guarino, that if you had been instructed that the parameter was limited to communications, you wouldn't have been looking at that search data, scrolling through it for an hour, would you?
No, I would have.
Even though you were given parameters of communication.
Okay, ding, 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 ding. Again, if he was given the information that he's only supposed to be looking for communications, he would said he would have stopped, right? Would he? Would not have? We don't know. So again, I ask the question, where is the chain of command, right? Where is the chain of here is what you're supposed to look for, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Where is it? It's the telephone game. Fanning told somebody, told Bukhenik, told Tully, told Keefe, told DeChico, told Guarino. And then they're just like, well, somebody told me. Who? I don't know. Where are the procedures and policies? Where are the SOPs? Let's continue.
I wasn't given that parameter.
No,
Oh,
I understand.
yeah.
I probably was confusing. I apologize. If you were given strict parameters that you were only to look for communications, and there was no indication of search history or location data or anything of the sort, you would have been scrolling for an hour through that search history, would you?
It would depend. There's multiple ways to have communications on a device. Like a web chat feature, calls, obviously the regular calls, texts, but the app data also has, like Snapchat, loads differently. So there's multiple ways to find only the communication data.
Right, and once again, the Cellebrite Physical Analyzer has all these categories you can check off, correct?
Yes.
Regarding communications, correct?
That is correct.
But you didn't check off any of those because you didn't know, you didn't believe, you were told that there were in fact parameters.
The parameters I was told was the date range and that communications prior to the 25th were privileged because there may have been attorney-client privileged items.
And when you just now refer to app data, it's fair to say that isn't it that what you were using, the Cellebrite Physical Analyzer, actually segregates, pull out app data separately and inform the entity. Here's app data. You can look at this as app data.
Again, it would depend on the app.
So just in case you were wondering, can they go in there and click on what they can search for, right? Texts, your data location, your emails, your search history. Apparently they can go in there and click those boxes that says check for this, don't check for this, etc. Like they can go and do those parameters. And just as he said, he wasn't given those parameters, and so therefore it was anything and everything free up for grabs. Let's continue.
So just so it's clear,
Excuse me. I'm good, sir. Thank you.
when we hear about this timeline feature and things like that with the Cellebrite Physical Analyzer, it's not that when you open up the timeline feature, all of a sudden, all of this data that we're talking about, all these search histories, they pop up on the screen. You have to begin to methodically scroll through them and analyze each one.
Yes and no.
Okay. And that, yes and no.
Yeah.
You had to scroll through an enormous amount of data to even get to what you consider to be the suspicious searches.
Again, yes and no.
Okay. Yes. Right.
I'm sorry.
That's all I have. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Redirect.
Nothing further on.
Witness may step down.
Thank you.
Hello. Let's see if that works. All right. I am going to see if I can find the rest of Connor Keefe's testimony. I think that it's not there. It's lost in the world of the Ethernet. I don't know. But anyway, so we're just going to kind of go through this. And I just want to let you know, surprise, spoiler alert. Judge Frenier says that, let's make this more prominent. So the defense filed a motion saying that the search parameters were only supposed to be about communications during this small time period. As you can see, Guarino went over and above that, found some Google searches. Then Connor Keefe from DeChico went over and above what he said and started looking for location data. And then that set off a chain of events to find evidence against Brian Walshe in the murder of Anna Walshe. Again, no body has been found. So the defense is trying to get this evidence kicked out because they feel like it was improper searches. So it had exceeded the scope of the initial agreement between Walsh's then attorney, Tracy Minor, and Lynn Beatty. So the prosecutors argued that, they would eventually have found out the information. So therefore, if not then when? And, spoiler alert, the judge ruled, Judge Frenier has largely sided with the prosecution, ruling that most of the digital evidence, including the alleged Google searches history, would be admissible in trial. She did suppress some information obtained from the tracking device placed Walshe in his mother's car, evidence of Walsh's phone activity, because the warrant for that period deemed unlawfully general, and there's no information suggesting a crime happened before January 1st. So we'll see what does and doesn't come in at trial. So again, we are on pause in reference to the Walshe trial. He is still being held at the Bridgewater State Hospital to undergo further evaluations for his mental health. Is he capable of helping his defense in going through with his case? Again, there's going to be a competency hearing, but we don't know when. And so once that information has been put on the docket, I will let you know. So I will see if we can find the rest of Connor Keefe's evidentiary hearing testimony. If I can, we'll go ahead and play it. If not, pause. We are going to go into the Corey Richins case tomorrow. Why? Oh boy, there is a lot popping off in the Corey Richins case. I'm just going to give you a brief overview. Corey Richins is being charged in Utah for the murder of her husband, Eric Richins. She is alleged to have put fentanyl in his Moscow Mule the night of his death, 5 times the legal limit. There's a lot popping off in her case. Her case currently right now, they're doing a lot of pre-trial motions, etc. But there is not a court date on the docket right now. There needs to be, because, oh boy, there's a lot popping off. So we're going to go over what's popping off in the Corey Richins case, what should we be kind of looking out for, etc. Just to kind of give you an update in that case, because that is set to go to trial beginning, in February of next year. But a lot happens behind the scenes between now and then. And one of the things that is on the docket is they're revisiting the possibility of a change of venue. So why is that happening? Tune in tomorrow. We're going to go over that as well. That's all that I have for today. It is a long stream, almost 4 hours. Wow. As you see, being in court is long, long, long. Some of it's boring. Some of it is fun. So again, want to get to 50 subscribers, please like and subscribe at the bottom below. It doesn't cost you anything. It'll notify you when I have the next thing coming up, etc. One day I'm going to go live. It just depends on what's going on in the household. So thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Bye. Thanks for watching Legalese 123. If you like what you saw, please like and subscribe for more content.